Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon. It's John Suntress. A couple show notes before we get started. I talked a little bit about it on a couple of the intros of the current shows, but really, during this tough time, I'm going to do my best to provide as much entertainment as possible as we all get through this. I mean, I'm going to be doing a lot more video and a lot more interviews, so I'm on lockdown just like everybody else as far as work goes, and I want to entertain you as best as I can and help us pass the time and get through this tough time. So if you have any questions or comments about the show, please reach me via email, john@wordballoon.com. You can follow me on Facebook under my name, John Suntress. I've added a Word Balloon video page called Word Balloon Live. I hope you'll check it out. A lot of the same stuff that I've been putting up on YouTube will be there. I'm going to be doing some live streaming as well in the days and weeks ahead to, again, entertain us and kind of keep us, occupied. But thanks a lot for listening through the commercials. There might be one more before the show starts. But as always, thank you for listening and for your attention. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, very excited about a conversation I just had with Dan Slott hours ago. Really fun. We, of course, talk about some things coming up like Empire, the new Marvel event that'll be starting shortly, a great Fantastic Four Adventures crossover that Dan is involved in the plotting of, and he'll be writing the FF part of that. He's working with Al Ewing, talks a lot about collaborating with Al. We kind of do a quick global spin with some of the creators that Dan has touched base with since the coronavirus has impacted the world, and we are reminded of the fact that this is a global community, especially the comic book community. When Dan talks about the various people that he's been collaborating with of late, and of course back in the past as well. But we also have great Spider-Man stories for you, and great Marvel stories as always from Dan. A little bit of DC talk, of course, as well, because Dan had a good significant run at DC in the early aughts before returning to Marvel. We talk a lot about him coming back and forth from DC and Marvel, and can't help, because we're both such television nerds and movie nerds, to talk a bit about some of our favorite subjects, like Star Trek Discovery, which Dan has finally caught up with, the 2 seasons that have come out. Hasn't watched Picard yet, but we also talk about Doctor Who and wrap things up with an intense Star Wars conversation. And if you listen till the end, you're going to hear about 2 Spider-Man stories that Dan really wanted to do that Marvel wouldn't let him do. I swear to God, it happens at the end of the show. It is worth checking out and listening to the whole show because it's a great conversation, as always. Dan Slott on today's Word Balloon, brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners via Patreon. Hey, now more than ever, I really appreciate the League of Word Balloon listeners because you literally are. You're helping keep the lights on here at the Bat Cave, at the Balloon Cave, if you will. Maybe that's what I should call it from now on, the Balloon Cave. That sounds kind of neat. But really, thank you very much for your support via Patreon. Subscribing to Word Balloon is not necessary because Word Balloon is free. I want everyone to hear it. I really want to grow the audience, and especially now when we really need entertainment to keep ourselves occupied. Word Balloon is here for you. I mean, I've been releasing a lot of episodes just this week, and really it's already been a very full month of March. That will continue throughout the weeks and months ahead, as much as I can get people on to talk about what they do and their contributions to the nerd world in the various realms of television, film, comics, novels, what have you. And I'm happy to have those games as well, toys. And that's what Word Balloon is for. So I hope you'll appreciate that and check out some great stuff that's coming up on Word Balloon. But subscribing to Patreon is a big help. So thank you greatly. It's patreon.com/wordballoon, or you can click on the Patreon ad at wordballoon.com. But I thank you greatly for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is also brought to you by Aftershock Comics. It's a hell of a month, not just because of the coronavirus, but because of the debut of a brand new title. And we'll be talking to Stephanie Phillips about her new book, Artemis and the Assassins. I'll be talking to her before the week is up. The likelihood is you'll be hearing that conversation next week. They've also reached back and listened to my conversations with people like John Layman about The Man Who Effed Up Time, or Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete. I hope to have future conversations with Zach Thompson about Undone by Blood, Mark Sable about God Killers, a couple of the other new Aftershock titles. And, long time coming, man. I really want to talk to Marguerite Bennett about Animosity. I want Donnie Cates back to give us a Baby Teeth update. And eventually a talk with Garth Ennis would be wonderful to talk about books like A Walk Through Hell and a hell of a lot more. Their catalog is filled with great works from some of my favorite people in comics, whether it's Phil Hester or Cullen Bunn, Tim Seeley or Paul Jenkins. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages, and the way to get these books either digitally or the diamond codes to order them through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. All right, let's get into it now. A great conversation with Dan Slott. I miss him. It's so weird. As I tell you in the intro and stuff, Dan and I talk just casually because of my crazy hours and his crazy hours. And you'll hear that at the beginning of the conversation. And also a reminder, too, that for a lot of people in the comic book business, this kind of having to stick by your desk and working from home, not uncommon to them. But let's get into it now. The conversation with Dan Slott on today's Word Balloon. Dan Slott, welcome back to Word Balloon. It is so funny because, as you well know, you and I have been talking off the air for months.
Ages. Forever. You are my confessor. No, it's the other way around.
I'm your booty call, man. It's like it's 3 a.m. and Dad's got the writer's block. John, are you up?
Are you up? What are you doing? John. But now the whole world is me.
I know, dude.
The whole comic book industry is all the guys up at 3 a.m. going like, I've been quarantined for 3 days.
How are you handling things? I mean, New York, obviously, in I think even a greater lockdown than Chicago is.
Yeah, but I have like a very close friend in Milan. I have, I talk with Marcos Martin a lot, and he's based in Spain. So there are people that are like, I have not reached out to Giuseppe Camicoli, and I should to see how he's doing.
Sure.
Yeah, it's everywhere you go. Comics, we're spread out around the world. Especially Marvel, thanks to the hard work that C.B. Cebulski has done when he was a talent coordinator.
Yep.
That we have so many artists in so many countries around the world, and now Ricky Purdon's doing that, and we're keeping up that great history of that Marvel gets all these creators, and thanks to Skype, we're all able to talk to each other no matter where we are in the world. But
sure,
yeah, man, and when we're in a global pandemic,
yeah.
It's crazy. But conversely, it's like the flip side of it is all the writers I know, we're all watching people freak out, friends and family who have been quarantined for all of 2 to 3 days. We're like, oh, you. Like, yeah, because we're all like, oh, no. We're chained to a desk at all hours, never seeing sunlight, not going outside, ordering everything in. I don't know how I could live like that.
Can't relate. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, dude, that's my Tuesday. It's my Wednesday. That's my every other week.
I understand, man. No,
I'm sure I'm going to crack by week 2 or 3, but this is standard business procedure here.
I want to throw this out there for a subsequent talk because, especially while we are all on lockdown, beyond doing regular interviews, I kind of want to do some trivia games. And I thought it would be fun to pit a couple of creators against each other and do that.
It's weird. It's like I'm looking at all these industries that are in trouble because of this. Bars and restaurants shut down, movie theaters shut down,
right?
And then there are jobs where people have to go to work. They have to physically be there.
Yeah, I have a buddy who works for UPS, and he's got no choice. That's his job. He doesn't deliver, thank God, but he's in the warehouse with all the delivery guys.
Editorial is working from home, which is strange for them.
Sure.
But I worry about the comic shops.
Yes, we all
it would be very easy for everyone to get their fix by going to digital for a while, and it's like I'm so rooting for the guys that do the curbside service. And,
yep.
or people who do pick up and drop off.
Yep.
And please, if you're out there and you have a big pull list, you got to help out your guy and gals at the comic shops.
Agreed.
Yeah. Don't leave them sitting.
No.
Yeah.
Well, or at the very least, too, Tim Seeley suggested this for restaurants, and the same can apply to comic stores. Everybody gives gift certificates and gift cards. So if you can swing it, and when we're back on all clear, you can use them. But yeah, they could use the money up front. So if you can swing it and stuff, and buy a few gift cards and things or gift certificates at your local store, I'm sure they would appreciate that business as well.
That is a fantastic idea.
Well, Tim Seeley, everybody.
Way to go, Tim Seeley.
He's always thinking. He's a big idea man, as you know. Like Billy Blaze in Night Shift, like Michael Keaton. I'm an idea man, Chuck.
My building put all these new regulations and things in place, and one of the things that they do not want people doing is congregating in the lobby. But this is New York, This is where sit on the stoop and talk, and people were not heeding the advice. People were still congregating in the lobby, so they removed all the furniture from the lobby.
Wow!
And
wow!
They added a hand sanitizer, which was nice.
Good.
But they removed all the furniture, and an old lady in the building one day came down and went to sit in a chair that no longer existed, and almost got hurt.
Oh
no!
Wow. Well, we had good weather yesterday in Chicago, and I went grocery shopping at like 5, and I was shocked at how many people were on the street. And it's like, hey, if you don't have someplace to go home.
Oh, it's
get out of there.
It's very the few times I go because I have to pick up some kind of supply.
Sure.
It's very I Am Legend out there.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Very Omega Man. And it's kind of creepy. It's kind of weird. One of the things I really like is that a lot of stores and shops are first thing in the morning having an hour of only helping the elderly and the infirm.
That's great. That's fantastic.
So the people who are at higher risk can go in and do their shopping and then leave first when the store has stocked up. For my store, my local supermarket, which is really close to me, I never got why people, like, I'd look at all online, people doing like, oh my God, the toilet paper, they're hoarding the toilet paper. There was always toilet paper in my supermarket. The hand sanitizer, no. The little sanitizing wipes because they want you to get every surface every now and then. No, long gone. But there was always toilet paper until like 2 days ago. Now it's like the rest of the world. I go, okay, I see what the deal was.
I'm very lucky. When I was sick, my sister came in and really power cleaned my place and literally left me this ridiculous mountain of supplies of cleaning products, but then also went to Costco or Walmart or whatever and got me 2 dozen rolls of toilet paper, 2 dozen rolls of paper towels. So it's like, yeah, I'm actually okay for a couple months. I'm all right. Everything's fine.
I'm pretty good and well stocked up over here. I started doing some spring cleaning, and one of the things I found when I was going was all this, just to bring this back around to stuff people want to hear about.
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll get over the depressing stuff and then get to the fun. Yeah. It's all right.
No, but all this original art that I have not had framed yet. Because I was like, oh my God, I have to organize this now because I didn't want any of the other cleaning stuff or, moving things around to hurt it or crush it or make it was in a proper, flat spot. And I'm like, oh, look at all these beauties, like gifts and things from over the years. And I just, man, it kind of put my career in laser focus of how long I've been doing this. There's everything from Ren and Stimpy art to Scooby-Doo to Tomb Raider to, throughout the 10 years of Spidey, all the way up to recent times. I got a couple pages from the Fantastic Four wedding issue.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh man, look at all of this. Umberto Ramos's splash page of the big time Spidey stealth suit.
Cool.
First ever appearance of Flash Thompson as Agent Venom.
Excellent.
This is all neat. Look at
That's
these.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I have the page that was supposed to be the first page of my Brand New Day run. The original first page was when the guy in the mugger in the Spider-Man mask,
yes,
is holding the gun up and yelling at you to give him all his money. And that was I thought everyone's biggest problem with Brand New Day. Oh, I was so naive. I thought it was going to be that we were coming out 3 times a month. I thought fans were going to revolt and be like, oh, yeah, like I'm so used to buying 1 issue of Amazing a month.
Right.
And I thought I would just be meta about it and have have fun about it and have the mugger yell, in comic book square, shut up and give me your effing money. And then you'd see Spider-Man doing that to you. We had in our first really big Spider-Man summit for Brand New Day. We were doing it for a couple days in a row, and one of the things we had for the first issue, we had reams of notes of all these scenes that all the writers and the editors wanted in the first issue. And when I ended up being the guy writing the first 3, I looked at this half a legal pad of notes going, this is not all going to fit into the first issue. There's no way. Then I talked to Steve Wacker and I said, Steve, I can get you half of this in the first issue. It really wanted to touch on everything.
Okay.
Here's Peter Parker's new status quo. Here's the characters he hangs out with. Here's the new villain. Here, over and on, all these different. Here's the status of the Daily Bugle and blah, 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 blah. And one of the things Joe Quesada was really, that he really wanted everyone to see. The first thing when they open up that issue was that Peter was dating again.
Okay.
That soap opera was back into the book. That Mary Jane was out, right, and we're going to get this Peter Parker who is dating again. And he really wanted the first page to be Peter making out with a girl that was clearly not Mary Jane. That was the thing that you saw when you opened the book. And he was acting it out in the room as if he was Peter Parker miming with this girl.
Ew.
He was really invested. And when you're in the room and you're pitching stuff and everyone's pitching things, everyone, if you have a good room, everyone's really enthusiastic about everything. And in his mind, that being the opening visual was important. And I looked at it and I went, to get everything in here that everyone wants in there, and I got maybe 70% of what they wanted in the first issue in there.
Yeah.
I was the only way I can structure this, by the time we get to the club scene, where it's everybody hanging out and Peter ends up making out with this girl, that's in the middle of the book. I can't get that at the top. And one day and Steve as the editor was like, okay, this is fine. This is good. You did a good job.
Okay. And
it was going to be that, the gun image was the first page. And one day Joe was in Steve's office and he looked at the issue coming together and he's like, where's the scene with the girl? And Steve was like, oh, that's going to be later in the book. And just, no, that's the first image. That's the first image. And so they added an extra page to the count. So you read that book and there's 2 splash pages. There's that page and the gun page. And I had to write one of those. Nowadays, everyone makes fun of it. That whole record scratch. Hey, I'm Peter. How did I get here? Let me tell you.
Hilarious.
And that's why it's structured that way. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah, it's like, okay. No, because, the editor-in-chief really wants this to be your opening image.
He's the boss.
Image. And, I was cool with the scene. I had it in the middle of the book. That's why you hit it again. There was stuff we had that did not end up, that we were really happy with in the room. Like, there was one day where everyone was like, this is going to age the book. But everyone was really into this new thing called parkour. You look at like when parkour was a thing.
Sure.
It was, at that point in time, it was the public at large really hadn't seen that much of it. It was this weird new thing showing up on YouTube, and I think maybe when did Casino Royale come out?
2005, like there.
2005. So
something like that, or 6, something like that. 2005, 6.
Because there's that parkour sequence in Casino Royale, right?
Yep.
So we were all talking about, we haven't really seen parkour in the comics, and that stuff looks and feels. You're looking up Casino Royale right now on those buttons, aren't you?
That's exactly with my real typewriter keypad. Rucka turned me onto that, and seriously, it's the greatest thing because the flat keypads of laptops, I can't write with those. I'm glad to hear you say the same thing. 2006 Casino Royale.
So it was like 2 years. It was we were doing this in 2007.
Yeah,
and it came out in 2008. But we were So that's about right. So we were talking about how these parkour guys look like Spider-Man. When
absolutely, or Daredevil, or Robin, Nightwing,
running over the tops of rooftops, kind of running along the side of a wall. And we thought it would be cool if there were all like a group of kind of like Peter Parker's version of the Yancey Street Gang. Like these kids that were all wearing Spider-Man masks and doing parkour everywhere.
That's crazy.
And somehow there ended up being no room for it. And no one got back to it. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just create this new villain who does parkour, and she does it for YouTube clicks, and that's where Screwball came up from.
Oh, that's cool. Batrock, I suppose, could have been a parkour person, really, when you think about it.
Who?
Batrock the Leapow.
Oh, Batrock. Yes, Batrock.
I didn't give him my Patrick Stewart Star Trek Picard French accent.
I am Batrock the Bear.
The best on those Marvel superhero cartoons.
Dude, what a day and age we live in that, like, one of my favorite superhero movies of all time has Batrock in it.
Oh, my God. George St. Pierre was a fantastic Batrock.
Oh, absolutely. And they did that whole, Ed Brubaker, Steve Epting update where you go, now I get it. Now I get Batrock, how you do it in modern times.
Yep, absolutely.
So good.
Before we get off of One More Day, and it's ironic that was what Joe wanted in the front, because
Brand New Day.
Or pardon me, Brand New Day. Right, One More Day was Mephisto. My one objection to Brand New Day's new status quo was, and we might have talked about it before, but kind of ditching the years of Betty Brant and Peter dating, and that was suddenly deemed inappropriate. And I'm like, they could have still both been teenagers, and Betty just went from high school right to working for the Bugle and never went to college.
That's the way Kurt Busiek played it.
There you go.
In Untold Tales.
There you go.
But it's weird to kind of have Peter have a relationship with anyone who was there the whole time that wasn't like with Mary Jane, and with Mary Jane and Black Cat, you kind of buy it because it's on again, off again.
Sure.
But with Betty, it was so clearly they had their time and it stopped, and then she went into the friend circle.
Right.
And to do that with any other character, it's almost like it feels weird to take any character from the supporting cast who's been there forever to suddenly go, why haven't I ever looked at you that way? It doesn't feel natural. It feels kind of weird. Or a character like Betty, which kind of morphed over time into like a brother sister kind of thing.
Yeah, but again, I don't see why that could have just been, yeah, we dated and that result, we stayed friends. I mean, it ended well as opposed to ended badly.
Yeah, but
I didn't see the problem with that.
It feels weird to rekindle anything like that with Betty or Liz or.
Hey, you didn't even have to rekindle it. I mean, again, I just felt it could have been in their past.
Yeah, no, but I mean, yeah, I don't know that they still dated. They totally dated.
Well, because it seemed to me reading Joe talk about Brand New Day was that no, it's been retconned. They were just always friends.
No.
Good.
There is nothing retconned in Brand New Day other than the marriage. Everything else stands. Every story you ever read. Nothing. Because there's that thing where what JMS wanted to do was he wanted to undo even Gwen being killed.
Oh God!
And that would have set up.
That's wrong. Yeah,
a whole set of dominoes that you start trying to go, what? Huh? It's the only times I can think of, because DC does crises. Right. They do crisis stories where then you shake up the ball and you don't know where any of the pieces in the past fit.
Right.
And then it starts being unveiled over time that, okay, there are only 3 Robins now, or Hawkman was this, or and he's always been that. And you have to suddenly go, you take every bit of DC continuity and you shake the Etch-a-Sketch. And now it's, Wonder Woman was the first ever superhero.
Here we are. Yeah.
Not that that's wrong, but you go, okay, wrapping my head around it. And that's the way DC does stuff. And with Marvel, we kind of do a fuzzy memory. That everything happened, but Punisher didn't go to Vietnam, or else he'd be like a 90-year-old man.
Sure.
Ben and Reed didn't serve in World War II.
OSS agents, yes, indeed.
Yeah, so it's like you're fuzzy with how the real world and the Marvel world link up because of Marvel time, but outside of that, everything happened, and I can only think of like a handful of things where Marvel's done a retcon, and it's always like a surgical thing. It's always like with one character, and then you kind of tweak it and tune it, and you're like, okay, so Bucky didn't work that way. Now Bucky is more of an equal to Steve.
Yeah,
he's not the kid sidekick who walked in the tent and went, "Huh, you're Captain America?" Oh, wait a minute. That's a fuzzy memory you're having, because that's the story what is it? Stars and Stripes came up with.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, you're right. That's right. That's the propaganda.
That's the propaganda. The real story is, he was trained to do X, Y, and Z, and he was really slitting people's throats and blah, blah, blah. He was a tough ass son of a bee. No, and now you get, the Miles Morales retcon, coming out of Secret Wars.
Right.
Where now he's always been in this world.
Sure.
And it's very much like the character Dawn on Buffy.
Yes, good call. Yes, indeed.
You go, okay. So with the Marvel Universe, we don't do giant crises events. We just take like one character here or there. We fine tune it. We do a minor adjustment.
Absolutely.
And then you go, okay. But everything else in my long box counts, right? Sure.
Okay. All right.
Sure. It's all there. And, and that's very much the playground we're in with the new Marvel mega series event book, Empire. That this thing that Al Ewing and I are doing, it's very much the fun of it is if you're in the camp of Slott and Suntress, which is a nice way of saying old fart.
Exactly. Go on.
And
Joe Casey and I had this kind of conversation last night. Go on.
yeah, if you're in our camp, there are so many Easter eggs and jewels and gems in Empire because you've been reading all this time.
Yeah.
Or if you're someone from a certain era, you go, oh yeah, that's scratching the right itch. But it also does it with modern day fans who maybe jumped in with Young Avengers.
Great.
And even if you haven't read any of this stuff, you can jump in fresh and there's stuff in there for you for now. But it plays with the entire history of the Kree-Skrull War from its very origins, up through major Kree-Skrull War comics, whether it's the Neil Adams, Avengery stuff,
yep, or
the John Byrne FF annual where Raxor and Beldan have the fight in the blue area of the moon.
Yep.
You get all the Engelhart Celestial Madonna stuff is in here.
Terrific. Cool.
And nowadays you have Teddy Altman, Hulkling, who is the son of Marvel, and that Skrull, not the Empress, but the other Royal Skrull character where they had Teddy as the baby.
Yep.
Who's one day part of his legacy is he would grow up to unite the two races of the Kree and the Skrull into one empire. And oh my God, it's happening. So there's payoff to the entire Kree-Skrull War history in this, which is one of those, strings on the guitar that is the Marvel universe. You think of these notes that keep playing from the 60s to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s now. It's the Kree and the Skrull.
Totally.
That's one of the spines of the Marvel universe.
Absolutely, of Marvel Cosmic, no question.
Yeah. So that's kind of the fun of Empire. And the two main forces that have dealt the most with the Kree and the Skrull are the Fantastic Four and the Avengers. And that's what this is. It's like what this event came out of me and Al and Tom and Alana all in a room going, what's the biggest hit you get out of doing an event with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers? And I was like, it's the Kree-Skrull War. That's the thing. More than if you look at the intersection, if you look at the Venn diagram between the Avengers and the FF, that's the money right there.
I'm with you. Yeah. This is kind of Marvel's Game of Thrones. Is that a fair?
No, because our ending is going to rock.
Okay. But I mean that kind of cosmic royal intrigue of, Hulkling assuming the mantle. I mean, obviously there's people that probably don't want Hulkling to take over.
Oh, I can't wait for you guys to see what Al's doing. I cannot wait.
All right.
There is lots of fun intrigue going on with Teddy taking on this role. We got surprises for you.
Good.
We've got
Excellent.
Good stuff. Yeah, this is I was there in the original planning stages and as the thing's coming together. Al, and if you haven't been reading his Immortal Hulk run, oh my God. Yeah. It's one of the, stellar runs that's going on right now in all of comics. Is
totally.
Al's Immortal Hulk run. There's certain runs that you just go, there's magic going on right now. Like I look at Al's Immortal Hulk, Donnie, and Stegman on Venom.
Yeah.
There's certain books out there that you just go, oh my God, the magic is working. It's Jason, wrapping up his Thor run.
Totally. Fraction Iron Fist, Brubaker and Brian on Daredevil back in the day.
Oh, dude, Wade and Samney on Daredevil.
Of course. Yes,
and now Chip. Chip is killing it.
I know. I'm so glad you said that. And I have talked to Chip about his Daredevil stuff. Now, I'm so happy for Chip because always a great artist, and it's like, hey, guess what? The guy can really write too. And I loved his Invaders. I loved his Invaders.
I think I'm ahead of you guys because we get stuff early, and also I get to read plots and scripts.
Cool.
Everything he's doing with the FF X-Men, the X-Men FF mini, is wonderful. It's so good.
See, and I'll confess, I'm on Marvel Unlimited, so I'm in September.
I'm
in
6 months out. Well,
yeah.
Did you read Chip's the life story Spider-Man?
Oh God, yes.
Good Lord,
that was amazing. Oh yeah,
that was so good.
I know. And again, that's the thing. And really, back to Al. I mean, that's the thing. It happened with Tom King on Batman. It's like, where else are you going to take this character? And guys like Al and Tom and Chip and these guys and you as well, you've done it as well. You guys find a way. It's like nobody ever really took them in this direction, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, great. Like really, like as you know, your Silver Surfer Red, for example, with Mike.
You look at Jason Aaron's run of Thor.
Yes.
And it just, it needs like orchestral,
it's heavy metal. It's heavy metal disguised as a Marvel comic. It really is.
You almost want to bring in a giant brass section and
the Ring of the Niebling or Ride of the Valkyries. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah.
As it all builds this stunning climax, you're kind of like, what poor bastard's going to follow that? There's so many Marvel runs that happen where you go, oh, dear God, never put me on the book after that.
And Donnie's doing Thor now, right?
Doing great.
Yeah.
And I know where Donnie's going, and I'm like, God bless, man. God bless that you're able to it's that kind of thing where you don't want to be the asshole who goes after Alan Moore on Swamp Thing.
Right, it fucks it up. Or like when nobody wanted to follow Kevin Smith on Green Arrow, and here comes Brad Meltzer, and it's like, oh, yeah, I'll do it. I know nobody knows who I am. That's fine. And if it doesn't work, no biggie, and it's terrific.
Or you read Grant Morrison's Animal Man, and then you're like, oh no, who's gonna have to follow? It's such a climax that you're like, what do you do when you get after that? I'm loving everything Nick is doing on Spider-Man. I'm not going to say who, but one of the fun things about when you write Spider-Man and you do it for a while, it kind of feels like in those Saturday Night Live sketches where you're in the 5-timer club, and you meet other Spidey writers and you hang out, and you swap stories.
You're great.
Yeah. And, I remember having a dinner with Roger Stern and his wife, and we just trading stories. I had pancakes with Jerry Conway one time. We met up at the diner, having pancakes with Jerry Conway. And there's this kind of oh, you made it, man. Welcome into the club. Where is I going? But there's one creator who I won't say who when I met them, because we did a panel together with a whole bunch of Spidey writers, and they came up to me before the panel, and they went, I just want you to know it's not you. I have not read any of your work. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, no. Do not take it personally. I haven't read anyone's Spider-Man work since I stopped writing Spider-Man. See, already now I've kind of ruined the story because it's not Jerry Conway and it's not Roger Stern.
I have a feeling I know who it is.
But they're like, and I'm like, why? And they're like, I could not bring myself to read anyone else writing the character once I finished. That's the way that guy was wired.
Yep. And I believe I've had that person on, and he said that about pretty much every character that he's touched over the years.
And he went on to tell me that. There's at least one other character that this writer is very well known for, and they couldn't bring themselves to read anyone else after they did their time on that character. And I get that. I was that way with Batman when Batman Adventures wrapped.
Sure.
I was kind of mad. Like, here I got a chance to write Batman, and I loved writing Batman.
Sure.
And now I'm off the book, and it was kind of like, freaking Mother Teresa could be writing Batman, and I could be like, fuck you. How dare you? How dare
I'm doing nice work for the poor, and I'm writing Spider-Man.
Care. But I'm healing the sick, and I'm working in a soup kitchen. I don't care. Go to hell. Working on Batman after I've been kicked off a book.
Nice.
I'm going to go over here and I'm going to stamp my feet for a while, and then I get over it, and then eventually it was like, hey, what's that guy doing with Batman? Oh, that's a good Batman story. Oh, I'm back in. But for me, it was like a period of time where I couldn't even look at Batman on a cover because I'd be like so mad. And I did not have that problem with any character I willingly, because the thing is, I haven't been taken off books, with the exception of Batman. It's the closest was I had like 50 issues of the thing I wanted to write, and we had to wrap up by issue 8 because we knew where the sales were.
Okay.
But for the most part, on almost everything I've worked on, I've had to leave to go to another project, and I've had to like swaddle my baby and pass it to someone else and go, look after my baby. And then I've been interested. I've been like poking my head in going, how are they doing? Okay, my baby's okay. Even though technically it's Marvel's baby or DC's baby or really some other person's baby. But you put so much time, so much of your life into a character,
Especially
so whether
in your cases, man. No, absolutely. I mean, good Lord, you get longest run on Spider-Man. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, but it would be like I did like 19 issues or something of Avengers: The Initiative.
Yep.
It's kind of like, okay, Chris Gage, look after my baby.
Right.
My babies, my precious babies.
Well, and again, I think you guys in particular do work well hand in hand, and obviously you're doing it right now with Arno.
Yep.
And I'm so glad we're in 2020 because I've been looking forward to this literally for 30 plus years, 40 years. Good Lord, since the 80s.
Wait. Let me circle back to that in a second. But it was like, when I had done like 33 issues of She-Hulk.
Yes.
And it was I had to leave She-Hulk to go over and do Spider-Man full time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was feeling, like, and the book was fine. The book was going to keep going. But I had to hand it off, and they told me it was going to go to Peter David, and I'm like, okay, good hands.
Sure.
And we kind of veered away from doing the law stuff, and because we were following events that were happening in Civil War and then post Civil War.
Sure.
I had She-Hulk being an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a tiny period of time. And I was like, oh, no. If I'm going to leave, I got to put the toy back in the box. So I quickly got it to a point where she could be at the law office again. Then I'm like, okay, I put a nice bow around it. And then I'm handing her over to Peter. And I'm like, okay, she's back in the law office. And he goes, oh, I'm not doing any of that. And I'm like, what? And Peter was like, well, if I do that, I'm just going to be like Dan Slott 2.0. I got to come in. I got to put my stamp on it. I don't want to just tell, the kind of stories you were telling, or then, I want there to be momentum. I want there to be change.
Sure.
So she's going to use some of her knowledge of the law, but she's going to be a bounty hunter now.
Oh, crazy. I didn't remember what he did with her. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, okay, then.
Yeah.
And for, we had a little party, but I knew where this was going because you have to, because the comics are done, months and months ahead.
Right. And you guys have the summits and everybody discusses what they're going to do.
Yeah. And, I asked Peter if he'd want to we did a passing of the torch ceremony at a signing.
Oh, that's cute.
So we did a dual signing, and I was running around the internet telling like everybody in the She-Hulk message boards and forums and things, going like, "Yeah, I'm leaving, but if you liked what I was doing, please stay on for Peter. Peter's run's going to be great." And Peter reached out to me and went, "I've never seen another creator do this." Like usually it's like you leave and you go. No, I want to make sure my babies are okay. But at the same time, like Peter said, you want everyone to put their own stamp on it.
Well, sure.
Well, you want someone to go, okay, I'm going to take this in a new direction. I'm going to do this new thing. It's fun. Like I wanted a villainous Doctor Doom. I wanted a Doctor Doom. Well, not villainous, because Doctor Doom always sees himself as the hero.
Sure.
But I wanted a more classic Doctor Doom. And I was really happy that when Brian was wrapping up Iron Man, that he put the toy back in the box.
Yep.
That right before he left, he had Doom get his face completely effed up again.
Yep. While
fighting a demon, then no one, fighting the Hood, but about mystical forces, and that no one knew he did it.
Sure.
So he had a heroic moment, and no one appreciated it, and then he went sulking into his castle with his messed up face. And I was like, okay, cool. I can go back to this. It's weird. I get these direct messages and things from fans going like, why did you reset Doom? I'm like, Brian reset Doom. I'm just
yeah.
I'm like,
well, I love that sequence at the end of your first issue where he does kind of, and I forget who she was.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, no, you need to reclaim what you were and everything, and hands him back the faceplate, and it's like, nah, he's Doom again. He's back.
Yeah, it's the hardest part of Doctor Doom, of being on FF and writing Doctor Doom, is for all the people who are like, oh, look at all the growth he had during the Iron Man run. Once we snapped him back to more a more classical Doctor Doom.
Yeah, classic Doom. Yeah.
Every writer at Marvel wanted him in their book. It's been like fighting people off to not have Doom be in 30 issues every month. Because every writer grew up knowing this is the best villain in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And now he's the way they want to write him. And oh my God! Oh, and the book, that the regular monthly Doom book, it's being written by the *Halt and Catch Fire* writer on TV. It is
wow,
so good.
Oh, I'm gonna have to check that out. I didn't realize. Wow, cool.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, it's fun. But you were saying Arno.
Well, yeah, because again, I mean, you said as hard as it was to break away from the initiative, but Chris came in, and obviously Chris has been your wingman in a lot of times when you are overwhelmed by work. I'm hoping I'm characterizing this properly and stuff. And,
no, you're getting it right. Like if there's too much we have to get done, and I'm feeling swamped, Chris is my go-to co-writer. I love with Chris.
And by the way, I want to, before we get into it, obviously Chris, a great creator on his own, and I love talking to him. And man, when he told me about his plans for the Gwen book,
the Gwen Stacy book is like my favorite new books. It's so good.
It's a great idea.
It's Veronica Mars.
It is, and it's yes, and also it's like, hey, remember how great Spider-Man's high school days were, and that cast of characters when they were young.
Oh, no, but it's playing around with all the characters who were that Pete meets at the Silver Spoon when he goes to college.
Or excuse me, the college kids. Yeah. That's right.
It's taking the new characters, quote unquote.
That's right.
The college era, and showing their high school. Then you go, oh, that's great, because when he inherited these characters, Gwen and Harry were linked.
Right.
They'd gone to school together.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Oh, so you get this book that it's this great mix of Veronica Mars in the Marvel Universe meets Dancing Through the Raindrops Spider-Man, like Untold Tales.
Yeah, retro. It's new and retro at the same time. It absolutely is. It's fantastic.
Chris is one of the main writers on the Spider-Man PS4 game that I was involved in a very early build, and I clearly did not have the time to work on this. It's very time intensive to work on a video game, and I've done it in the past. I've written other Spider-Man video games and Scooby-Doo video games, of all things. And it is very time intensive, and I just knew with my schedule I didn't have it. And I reached out to them and I said, "There's this guy, Chris Cage. He is so good." And oh my God, the Spider-Man PS4 game! It's the story in it and all the writing, and there's writers from Insomniac who have equal billing with Chris, who did a lot of work. But I look at it and I can see the Chris Cage beats, and I go, "Oh, these are so good." Chris is amazing, and what he's doing on Gwen Stacy is so much fun. So I love working with Chris. What we're doing on Iron Man 2020.
Da-da.
Yeah, I'm so much. There was like when I pitched Iron Man to Marvel over a phone call, really quickly. Once I heard Brian was leaving, they called me to tell me Brian was going to DC. Mm-hmm. And they wanted me to hear it before it was in the news. And I think they called like Jason Aaron around the same time, like to let us know. And I was leaving Spider-Man. I told everyone like over a year, and I just kept letting all these opportunities pass me by, and I didn't have a book to jump onto. And I was suddenly realizing like my time was coming up, and I didn't have a book to land on. And I'd like Axel, because that's what this was before CB came on board. Editor in chief. Axel had offered me all these great books, and I kept turning them down. I go, I'm not in the mood to write that book. No, not that one. No. Like his initial plan was he was going to hand me the X-Men universe. He was like, "Do you want to be the God of X?" And I was like, "Nah."
Would you ever want to do the X-Men?
No.
No. Hey, man, who are you talking to? I honestly, if people if they've been paying attention, I'm not a big X-Men guy.
Oh no, I love the X-Men, but if you're going to be the God of X, if you're going to be that guy or gal, you need to really know your stuff.
Yeah.
And
big grand plans, absolutely. Yeah. And that's why John's great for it. Absolutely.
You got to know there's so much history there.
Yeah.
And it's one of the corners of the Marvel Universe that there are many times where I've taken my eye off of it as a fan. So there are great stretches where I don't know like a lot of the tertiary characters and
I hear you, man.
Like if it's Claremont stuff, I got it down. Joss, I was reading during the Joss Whedon era. Me too. During the Grant Morrison era.
Sure.
But there's huge sections.
Well, when Brubaker and Fraction were doing San Francisco, and they're like, "Pixie's our focus character," I'm like, "And that is." I don't know Pixie. I'm sorry. I don't know. God, yeah, Pixie's great. They describe like, all right.
There's stuff that like it didn't register, and the fear of suddenly going, well, not the fear, the desire to go, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to read like 8,000 comics to catch up.
Sure,
made me go, nah. I'm like, yeah. There was a time where I was aggressively pitching for back when the Nightcrawler had his last solo book. Like, there's a time I was aggressively pitching for that. I made it to the last of two guys in the Bake Off. So there's some alternate reality where I was writing a Nightcrawler solo way back when. So I know the characters and I love them. I just don't want to be in charge of them. And then there's other characters where I go, I love reading them. Like we had a thing at Marvel, like editorial was having this very geeky throwdown for a while, where editorial was trying to decide over lunches what was consistently the best Marvel run of any book. Like, what character had if you looked at any one book or one title, what is the one that has consistently been the best
of all time?
Yeah, and there's a large consensus at Marvel that is Daredevil. Like, when you look at all the various different runs, the quality of writing and art, the Daredevil's that's the gold standard.
That's fair. Okay. I thought you meant like a specific team and run.
No.
Because I was going to say Kirby and Lee on Fantastic Four.
That's
obviously.
Yeah. But they were talking about in the entirety.
Okay.
Of a character.
No, I'm with you. That's cool.
And for me, I was people. I'm not saying this is what they settled on. I'm saying there's a large group of people.
I understand.
This is the deal. Yeah. And this was brought to my attention during a lunch that editorial was having with me. And I was like, no, it's Thor.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Because part of me looks, if I could peg any one golden run of a book that just the thing I couldn't put down, like for a lot of people, it is that Frank Miller Daredevil, whether it's Born Again or the earlier.
Yep. Sure.
Or, some people it's Claremont and Byrne on X-Men.
Sure.
And for me, it was Walt Simonson Thor.
Yeah. Sure.
To me, that was untouchable. It was just for so long, so good. And it built up to that giant climax in the Surtur saga. Thor.
I hear you.
And then you have the Jason Aaron run,
and even Jurgens. I thought Jurgens Thor was excellent.
I love Jurgens with the
with Johnny.
But you had Jake Olsen.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And right, Johnny was drawn for Jurgens, wasn't he?
Yeah. And you also had the DeFalco run was a hoot.
Yeah.
With Thunderstrike.
Absolutely. Thunderstrike. Hilarious.
There's all the stuff I love. But here's the thing. I know if anyone ever offered me Thor, I would say no. I would say no so fast because it's like I love reading Robert B. Parker and Elmore Leonard, and I love reading all these crime novels.
Sure.
I would never write one.
That's interesting.
You know?
Okay.
I would never write one. I love reading all the Brubaker stuff and all the
yes.
Yeah.
Hello, great crime writer. Rucka, great crime writer.
Rucka. So I love reading their stuff. That's not my wheelhouse. So the same thing. It's I would never write Thor. If
you were to do a creative book,
I would write Thor as one of 7 members of the Avengers.
Okay, sure.
But I would not write a monthly
solo Thor book. And I don't want you to get into specifics, but as far as because honestly, Dan, you have spent so much time with the big two. And haven't had the time to do creator owned or because of your schedule. But could you point to a genre that you would want to write in without giving anything away?
Well, I can say it. I'm working on a creator owned thing now. Once Iron Man 2020 is wrapped, I'll be able to dedicate more focus and time to it.
Okay.
But I'm working on a creator owned thing now. We're getting it up off the ground. We've got contracts that need to be signed, but it's all good.
Would it go through Marvel or?
I should not talk about that.
All right, fair enough. That's enough.
But it's and it's very much it's very much something I'm passionate about, and it's me. So it's got humor in it. It's got adventure. It's sci-fi in nature. Because you look at the things I love, whether it's Doctor Who or writing characters like Squirrel Girl or
sure,
it's somewhere in that zone.
Okay.
It's somewhere like when I made that a mission in my life that I was going to take Squirrel Girl from obscurity and a one-note joke character from one story, and I was going to bring her back and make her the most kick-ass character in the entire Marvel universe. And then it's like Brevoort and people had to keep me away from Squirrel Girl because I kept wanting to. And they're like, "No, you're doing this now. Leave Squirrel Girl alone." I'm like, "Ah." And then, to my everlasting joy, they gave her to Ryan and Erica.
Yep. And
it became one of the most stellar runs of all time. That 50+ Squirrel Girl run. They're amazing. I love them. But I look at that from afar and go, in the grand scope of things, I had as much time with that baby as Nicolas Cage did in Raising Arizona. But
Junior.
But yeah, you still have that dream of when he's catching the football at the end. And I know that Ryan and Erica did all the work. But I was there for that one madcap brief adventure in the beginning.
Absolutely, man. Well, and it's funny because I forget who I was talking to, but we were talking to creators that are peers of yours, and it's like, who hasn't done a creator-owned thing yet?
Me.
And I'm like, well, yeah, you. But I was like, and I believe I mentioned you, but also Jeff Johns and Jeff Loeb both came to mind as well.
Jeff Loeb hasn't done creator-owned?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Well, if you're Jeff Loeb, you kind of have done creator-owned, and it was
right.
Mando with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No, 100%. You're right about that.
It's called Teen Wolf.
Yes, and Burglar even.
Yeah. So
that's my favorite Jeff Loeb story. That movie started off being a Bruce Willis movie, and Whoopi Goldberg was the Bobcat Goldthwait sidekick.
Wait. Well, didn't Lawrence Block create Burglar?
Psycho Lawrence Block?
Lawrence Block, Telling Lies for Fun and Profit. I thought, did Jeff create Burglar?
Well, I thought he wrote this. He told me.
No, but I get that he might have been the guy who wrote the movie for Jumping Jack Flash.
Well, not Jumping Jack Flash.
No, not Jumping Jack Flash.
Burglar. The other Whoopi movie, Burglar, started off as and it might have been based on Lawrence Block book, but it started off as a Bruce Willis vehicle. And producers are like, we got great news. Bruce is out. And he's like, that's great news. Yeah, but we got Whoopi. And it's like, we already had Whoopi. Yeah, but Whoopi's the burglar now. And he's like, do you remember this movie?
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, it was not a hit. He's like, well, I either take this 6-figure gig that I or I walk with my integrity. And he's like, I took the gig.
You make that sound like the Ernest Borgnine scene in Mistress.
Yes, exactly. I got to finally last year have Robert Wool on the show and tell him how much I adore Mistress. And especially that scene is so great.
That scene's fantastic.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely. And there's no role for Ernest Borgnine in that movie.
Come on, he won an Oscar. Come on.
It's only they're mobbing Ernest Borgnine. It's great.
And Martin Landau could not have been seedier in that movie. He is so great in that movie.
So good.
Love that movie.
Well,
that's a must, kids. While we're all in shut-in to look up his Burglar Mistress. Don't look at Burglar. Don't waste 2 hours on Burglar. Waste 2 hours on Mistress. Great cast: Danny Aiello, Robert De Niro, Landau, Robert Wool.
But on the flip side, I'm always in awe. If I'm in a room with Jeff Loeb, that, oh my God, you wrote Commando.
Yeah.
I can't. The amount of time I watched and rewatched that movie in college.
Oh yeah.
And everyone was doing the lines from it, and and that's Loeb. That's crazy.
Yep.
Every now and then,
I'm like, whatever happened to Booth? And he goes, oh, she married a studio executive. He goes, I just had dinner with them last night. I remember this a couple of years ago. So, the love interest in Teen Wolf. Booth.
The Teen Wolf. So the Jeff Loeb's a giant. But with I can totally buy that Jeff hasn't
dipped in a creator own yet?
Yeah,
It's just it's interesting because again I was telling when I set up this call last night with Joe Casey, and we were just it's like, wow, look at how Joe walked away from the big two, creates Ben 10 with the Men of Action, and it's like and I mean anytime, man, he's got a really interesting book coming out in June, Casey, and it's going to be very, very cool. And God, I love. I mean, this sounds ridiculous, but of course I'm talking about the graphic novels. I love sex. Who doesn't?
Okay. No, but like I totally get why Jeff hasn't done it, because it's like that table was all laid out for him at DC, where it's kind of like he was like king. He could do what he wanted, know, and it has this great love of Flash and has this great love of the JSA, and and then you get the it was. Writing Spider-Man was my dream job. Like, that's the kind of dream job. Like, if you asked me when I was a little kid, what do you want to do? I want to write Spider-Man. Sure. So, it was hard for me to leave after, but it really was the weight of it all. And having written 600 and then written 700, and then when I saw 800 coming up, and there were so many talks about behind the scenes of people going, I want to write Spider-Man. And knowing that I was the guy hogging the chair, that part of me was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I can walk away from this. I did, over like 200 issues of Spider-Man and Spider-Man related stuff. It's cool. And when it got to the point where FF was available and they offered me FF, people would say, like, what do you want to do after Spidey? FF. So I'm very in a happy zone of getting to work on the stuff I wanted to work on. But I'm not like Jeff. I'm not like Brian. I'm not like these guys that can write like 7 or 8 books a month. I don't have that bandwidth. I'm very meticulous. I'm very slow. We all go at our own paces. Like, I remember in the 90s, I was Fabian Niciez's college intern, and I would watch how much stuff he produced as a writer on top of being an editor in the 90s, and it was astounding. He was writing New Warriors. Yep. And every New Warriors spinoff book. Night Thrasher and Nova had their own books. Yep. And if Justice had a miniseries, Fabian wrote it. If any character, did a thing, Fabian wrote it. And then he was also writing X-Force, and he was also writing Cable, and he was also writing, for a time, Alpha Flight, and he was writing X-Men. He was right. You just kept turning around, and there's something else Fabian Nicieza was writing. It was like it was a ludicrous amount of books, and yet I couldn't wait every month to read New Warriors. I couldn't wait to see what was happening over in X-Force. I couldn't wait. Like, some people can do that. I can't. I hear you, man. I have my 2 books a month, and that's it. So a lot of people are like, when are you going to do Creator Own? And I'm like, I can't free up room on the plate. There's nothing. And every now and then, like, when you do have room on the plate, someone will offer you something, and you go, yeah, I want to write Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, the video game. Yeah, I want to do, that over there, or that secret thing that you don't know about. Or, would you like to be the, I can't remember what my title is. It's the creative producer. Let's say that of the Spider-Man cartoon show. And you're like, yeah, yes, I would love to like read all these scripts and give all these notes and sit in a room and as the story spines being broken down for the year. Yeah, it's fun. But there's only so many hours of the day, and I am going to watch Doctor Who, and I am going to visit my friends in England, and I am going to visit my parents, and I am going to go out and see a movie. Screw you. I'm going to live. I see people like if I tweet too much online, someone goes, why are we doing that instead of writing a book? Because I did my 9-to-5 job today, and like you, I'm screwing around on the internet.
Attaboy, absolutely.
Yes. It's all good.
So do you want to talk a little more about Arnold before we transition? Because you dropped Doctor Who on me, and I can't wait to talk to you about Doctor Who.
No, dude, it's when I heard Brian was leaving, because they made that call to me on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was leaving Spidey, and I didn't have a book to jump on. I was kind of floating, and I hadn't picked anything yet. Because they hadn't offered me something where I went, yeah, that's the thing I want to do. I was kind of like, if I'm leaving, I talked to Scott Snyder about this, about Batman. One day he called me up and we're talking, and he's like, what do I do after Batman? Like, what can I possibly do? Like, you will understand this because you're on Spider-Man. Like, what do you do after Spider-Man? That's like is looking into the void. It's kind of like, oh my God, this was my dream project. What's the thing next? And I've been turning down a lot of stuff. And we were in one of our summits, and Wade had mentioned during the summit that he and Samney were finished with Cap and we're going to transition off of it. And I was thinking, oh man, I would write Captain America. I would love to write Cap. Oh yeah, okay. I'm going to wait for the next break, and I will go up to whether it was Axel or CB. It was Axel. I'll go up to Axel and say I would like to be the new guy on Cap, and then together the two of us would have gone to the editor, who I think would have been Brevoort, and go, Dan would like to do Cap, and let's talk, and let's, is this a good fit? What ideas do you have? I'm already putting this all together in my head, the proper procedure for doing this. And Ta-Nehisi Coates was in the room for the summit. And this is Ta-Nehisi Coates, for God's sake.
Sure.
You go to the New York Times bestseller list, #1, boom, Ta-Nehisi Coates. You see someone show up on a talking head on CNN to talk about this important moment in Black history. Ta-Nehisi Coates. You're like, Jesus, he's huge. He's great.
Genius, absolutely.
Oh my God. What? I could talk about Ta-Nehisi for all night.
I'm with you.
It's amazing to be in the room with him.
That's cool to hear. Is he fun in the room as far as the summits and stuff?
Oh God, yeah. He's good. He's great.
Cool.
But he hasn't, for him, he loves comics and he loves the characters, but he hadn't been in the summits before, or that many times, and
sure,
the way we do things. And so he hears Chris Samney and Wade's leaving Cap. And while I'm sitting there coming up with my scenario of how I'm going to deal with this during the break, Ta-Nehisi in the middle of the room goes, no one's doing Cap, I'll do Cap. He just says it in the room. I'm no one does that. Who does that? What the hell? And Axel Alonso's eyes turn into giant dollar signs like a cartoon. And he goes, and he just kind of wiping the dust off his hands done.
Awesome. Wow.
And I was like, what?
Yeah, but wait a minute.
And I'm like, well, that door's closed. So part of me was like, okay, the next time that bus slows down, you jump on it. You don't wait. So they called me and told me Brian was going to DC, and we had the few pleasantries. I'm like, well, it's going to be a shame to lose him. He's a creative force in the room, and he's there for wow.
Sure.
Good luck on his next projects, and yeah, DC's lucky to have him. And then there's a pause. And I just went I want Iron Man. I just I leapt at it over the phone call. I was like, give me Iron Man. Because I was like, yeah, I'd write the hell out of Iron Man. I love Iron Man.
Cool.
And they're like, okay, what's your pitch? And when I tell the story, I would leave this part out because I didn't want to spoil it. But my pitch is the short version, and it's the bit that ran in interviews, was I'd go, it's Black Mirror meets Rick and Morty. And then they'd be like, done. But what the full pitch was it's Black Mirror meets Rick and Morty with a slow burn to Arno Stark being Iron Man of Iron Man 2020 in the year 2020. And they're like, okay, you're there. Done. I'm like, okay. So that had been like the long-standing pitch that I did. Because you looked at it and you're like, how are you going to write Iron Man and hit the year 2020 and not do that? I was at the Stan Lee Memorial. Mm-hmm. And my agent is also Bob Layton's agent. And we're there together at the memorial, and he sees Bob Layton and he calls him over. And he's like, Bob, I don't know if I ever introduced you to Dan. And he goes, Dan's writing Iron Man. And Bob Layton kind of like, at first he was like coming over to shake my hand, like, but then once my agent says he's writing Iron Man, Bob Layton kind of like, oh, is he? Kind of like, everything was going swimmingly, like in midair, reaching out for the handshake. And there's this kind of like, oh, really? Like, and what are you doing with Iron Man? And I'm like, we're going to hit 2020 and Arno Stark will be Iron Man. And he's like, you are doing Iron Man 2020 in the year 2020? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, all right, I just got hard. So Bob Layton told me he got hard.
Yeah, man, that's terrific. There you go.
You're like, well, that's a blessing.
I was going to say, that's like the Pope blessing, but an R-rated version of the Pope blessing. Sure. Yeah. I just got the heart. You go ahead and do that. I'll be in Vatican City. All right, Your Holiness. Thank you.
So that's how I met Bob Layton.
My convention encounters with Bob have been incredibly friendly. I haven't had him on. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
All it took was Stan Lee dying.
Nice. So. Jeez. But Arno Stark, man, again, no, this is literally 40 years in the making. Or 35 years in the making, something like that.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, but quick side note, the memorial was amazing.
Well, by all means, no, if you would, I'd be happy to hear about it, and I'm sure a lot of people would.
I think they aired it on ABC.
Did they really live? That's amazing.
Oh, well, it was a while after Stan had passed away. And but they rented out. They used the Amsterdam Theater on 42nd Street, and they brought in all these celebs. So like Charlie Cox talked, Tom Hiddleston talked, Clark Gregg, all these different people. Todd McFarlane gave a very moving speech about Stan. CB talked. Everybody got up there. Jerry Conway gave a lovely speech.
Cool.
All these different, from movies and TV and especially the comics. Joe Quesada. It was very lovely. It was very well done. And all the jokes for the evening were written by Daniel Kibblesmith.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so like it was funny, it was moving, it was a very good celebration, and then afterwards we all had like a little private party thing, and just everybody who was there, it was just amazing. Like I've had a weird career in that I've kind of had two careers at Marvel. I was a '90s guy, and then everyone forgot I was a '90s guy, and I came back in 2004. And I've been there since. So there's a lot of people like when they realize like, oh wait, you wrote that thing in the 90s? Like, yeah, I wrote that thing in the 90s. Like people still find my name in credits and weird things. And it was like, yeah. So, and then I was frozen in ice.
Exactly.
I was thawed out in 2004 for She-Hulk.
And the Thing.
Yeah.
Later.
Yeah, no. So it was, but it was fun seeing all the 90s guys at the memorial. Like people I'd kind of fallen out of touch with and getting to reunite with them. And, it's the guys from my first Marvel era. Like Elliot Brown was there and, Larry Hama, all these guys. It was great. It was great seeing people. Man. Okay.
No, that was cool. That was no, and I'm really glad you touched on that. That's terrific, man. Again, this is how long it's been since we've talked, and there's been some cool things that have happened that we haven't touched upon, or we were talking off the air at 3 a.m.
At 3 a.m. Like, you are a enormous Star Trek fan.
Yes, I am, sir.
And I, for ages, had not seen Discovery season 2. That I'd seen season 1 using my when you have Netflix and you go to a foreign country, sometimes what shows have been bought change from country to country.
Sure.
And if you go and you bring your laptop, suddenly you log onto your Netflix account and it syncs up with the country you're in. And you suddenly you can't watch all this stuff you were watching in the States, and suddenly you can watch completely different things. Awesome. So I was like, oh, I can watch Star Trek Discovery now that I'm in the UK, and I would watch an episode every night. And then I got home and I was like, oh, no more Star Trek Discovery. And I wasn't going to spend the money for one more streaming service. So I was kind of floating.
Yeah. I haven't seen Picard yet.
No, and I was just sitting there for the longest time. I wanted to see Discovery season 2 because I heard good things about it. And then when I had like a tiny window on my schedule, I got the 7-day trial and I just binged, all the Discovery season 2.
Okay.
Yeah. And I enjoyed it.
Okay. I
know your misgivings.
Oh, we could talk. It's all right.
But I enjoyed it. I know the problem you've got with it is the character Michael is the center of everything and the most important person in the universe.
Yes, that's one big problem with it, yes.
And I do not have that problem. I don't have that problem because, in my mind, that's the exact same thing as Captain Kirk. Like that.
I suppose from an original series standpoint, that's fair. Sure.
Yeah, that's
fair.
The Michael character is the Captain Kirk character.
Well, go on.
And if you swap them out, I don't think people would have that same problem.
Well,
they're the focus of every story. And every now and then you have a character who's like a Spock or a McCoy or a Scotty take center stage for an episode or for part of an arc, like
part of an episode or whatever. Sure.
Yeah. Like what's the name of the alien?
Saru.
So Saru had about as much play as a Spock.
Okay. All right. The difference though is Kirk was the captain. So he's the leader.
Yeah.
Michael Burnham is a junior officer, and I had no problem with a point of view lead character being a junior officer. I still think, I guess, coming off of 18 years of Rick Berman Star Trek, that it would be more of an ensemble, and much like that Patrick Stewart was the captain and the lead character.
I think the same thing holds true. Michael Burnham's character has just as much that, you look at, there were a lot of Data-centric episodes and some Riker-centric episodes.
Right.
But
Troy, everybody crushed
Troy,
sure.
Yeah. The only
to a lesser degree. Yeah.
You knew whenever it was the doctor, no offense to her because she's wonderful, but you kind of winced whenever it was like a Geordi or a Dr. Crusher.
There are a few good ones. I like the Leah Brahms episodes with Geordi. I thought those were all right.
But the second one was such a cringe fest.
Oh, yeah. But that's part of what made it interesting.
I know, that was part of the charm, but it just made you go, oh, that hurts.
Sure. But again, where I got a problem with Michael, and please, I look forward to your counter comments. Michael solves everything to the point of insubordination.
I know what you get at, and my problem is when you start finding out that she's not just the most important person on the ship or the point of view character. It's when you start finding out that she's especially in season 2, that she's the most important character in the universe.
Yes.
Then it becomes a harder pill to swallow. But I'm totally cool with all that focus being on her. The problem I have with the show, I do have a problem. I have two problems, which is one, the supporting cast outside of Tilly, Saru, who's the engineer who deals with the mushrooms?
Stamets.
Outside of those characters, everyone else is so incredibly underdeveloped.
That's right.
You have no idea who they are.
That's right.
You don't even know their names.
No.
Like I could, if I had just come off of watching the binge, I could have mentioned Stamets and I would have gotten Saru's name right. But I'd be screwed. Even the one that was a part cyborg, that they had to go out of their way to remind you and tell you and inform you she was part cyborg so that her episode worked.
Yep.
Like there's you do get with those. You get like 5 characters, right? And sometimes whoever the guest captain of the bridge is.
What, Pike, you mean?
Yeah, well, one year it's Pike, and the year before it was Malfoy.
Right, it was, Jason Isaacs and everything. Well, and I think Jason Isaacs was, right? Or are you saying somebody different?
No. He's Malfoy from Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah, but
I don't remember a different character beyond Jason Isaacs.
No. The actor. He plays the older Malfoy.
Yeah, the blonde guy, right?
Same guy. Yeah. So that's
what was he? He wasn't in. Where was he in Star Trek? He's not in Star Trek.
No, he's in Discovery.
When? Because the first season, it's Jason Isaacs is the captain.
Yeah. Jason Isaacs is Malfoy.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember. I didn't remember. All right. See, and I'll be honest. I stopped watching Harry after the third movie.
No. The blonde kid, the shitty blonde kid.
Right. He grows up to be Jason Isaacs. Okay.
No. He doesn't grow up to be Jason Isaacs. His dad's an important evil character.
Oh, and that's
played by Jason Isaacs in a blonde.
Now I'm with you. You see, I know Jason Isaacs from West Wing, where he had a brief role as an Israeli agent that is into Donna. And then also the show, and I believe he was the lead in Wire in the Blood, a great British crime show, and maybe not. But I know I've seen Jason Isaacs before, and I've always liked him. I
only know him as the elder Malfoy.
Okay, fair enough. But when you said elder, that's where I guess I was confused. But yeah, you mean his father. Okay, I'm with you now.
Yeah, the dad character.
But again, I like everything you said about not knowing the cast. I'm sorry, that's ridiculous. But, and also,
but right there, like Tilly, Saru, right, Stamets, Bergman,
Stamets. Culver, Stamets' boyfriend.
Yes, and you also know whoever the captain is for the season,
right? And Ash Tyler, the fake Klingon the Klingon that's turned into a human.
So right there, we're up to 6 characters, right?
And Giorgio, I'll give you the 7th character, Giorgio.
We got like 7 or 8 characters, right?
Right.
And now, if you look at Next Gen,
right,
you've got 7 characters.
Sure.
So the problem is we're so used to knowing who everybody is on that bridge, and you really don't in Discovery. You do not.
Right. No.
But that's not a failing if in your head there's 7 or 8 characters that you clearly can follow.
But it still
fits into that Next Gen zone.
I suppose, but again, there's so much happening on the bridge. I think it's important to know them, and all you have to do is name check them every now and then, and go, Ensign Smith, take the helm, or Ensign Jones, fire phasers,
and give them memorable names.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, back to Robot Girl, her funeral was longer than Spock's in Star Trek 2. And we get all these Tilly. I remember when Robot Girl and I did X,
but you never did X. You never showed me X.
Right. And Dan, that is the massive problem with both of the new shows. Shitty writing. Shitty writing.
Yeah, I'm not going to call it shitty writing.
I'm going to call it shitty.
I'm not going to call it shitty writing.
By all means, I'm really glad. I'm glad you have a different opinion. I think it's a more interesting conversation. So please, because I respect you as a writer.
This is going to sound weird, but it's like, and it's a note that a lot of comic book writers need to follow. That people remember Dawn Greenwood in Silver Surfer because we say her name all the frickin' time. Right. Silver Surfer is constantly going, yes, Dawn Greenwood.
Yes.
Yes, Don Greenwood. He says it like you can count the number of times we say Don Greenwood or Norrin Radd or Silver Surfer in one of those issues.
It's like 7 in Naomi Wildman.
Yeah, and what you get is when you watch an episode of Friends, there's so many comic book writers, like especially when they're starting out, you can go a whole issue without naming a character. And then editorial will have to go name the character. Like they'll have to give them a note, and they'll squeeze the name in one or two panels. So instead of just saying, can you get me the blaster? They'll go, can you get me the blaster, Logan?
Sure, sure.
So they go out of their way, like that's an editorial note. And if you watch a show like Friends, count the number of times they say everybody's names.
Absolutely.
It's you can't go 2 lines without them going Joey, Chandler,
right.
Monica, and what happens is you get to know them and you care about them because you gotta say the damn names all the time.
Bob Newhart, hi Bob, absolutely.
Hi, Bob. Yeah, and if they
and everybody on that show, yeah,
it takes you 2 freaking syllables for most characters, and if you just goddamn stick it into the freaking script and you can't name them blah names. We had a problem the way I look at it, when we were doing Brand New Day, we would have this when we'd be in meetings, this kind of ready, fire, aim kind of approach. We'd be like, oh, what are we going to name that new character? And then someone would just throw out a name and they go, great. They write it on the board and done. And I'd be like, wait, what? And some of those names, I would just look at them and go, I don't care about that character now because their name's boring and it's blah. It just sits there. And then I would have a story where, you'd introduce a character and I'd name them all the time. And then we'd have the next meeting and everyone would want to use that character in their story. Like my tertiary characters.
Sure.
And it just because we had, for the first year of Brand New Day, this running plot of who's going to be mayor of New York. That there's this election constantly in the background.
Right. I remember that.
And it was a motivation for villains to do certain things and heroes to do certain things.
Yeah, was the Mr. Negative one of the potential mayors?
I think at one point, yeah. But
yeah, okay.
But for the longest time, the main candidates were someone that Norman Osborn was backing, and this other one who was meant to be this pure noble, like very progressive character, and they named her Lisa Parfrey. Someone just said, "What's she gonna be?" Lisa Parfrey. That went up on the wall, and I went, "What?" And no matter how many, that name is like you hear it. And 10 seconds later, you've forgotten it. You've already forgotten it, haven't you? What is it, John? What's your name?
Kelly Quinn?
No, wrong. Lisa Parfrey.
Oh, yeah,
Lisa
that's right.
Parfrey. Like, that's nothing.
Did you change it, or was she always Lisa Parfrey?
No, I couldn't change anything once it went up on the board. Because then there was 3 other writers going, great, okay, she's in my story. And there was like a moment where Hollister was the other one because it was Lily Hollister's dad. Okay. But there was a point where Menace, who is secretly Lily Hollister, kills Lisa Parfrey. And Spider-Man fails to save Lisa Parfrey. And you don't remember it. A major character, there's a major plot point for a year's worth of stories. And it's just gossamer on the wind. But it's like, and then I had a story where I introduced a character and his name was Bobby Carr. And we just kept calling him Bobby Carr throughout the whole story. Are you a fan of Bobby Carr? Do you know Bobby Carr? There's Bobby Carr. And no one forgot Bobby Carr. And then people were like, can I use Bobby Carr? I'm like, yeah. Because you hear Bobby Carr, and 10 seconds later, what was the character's name? It's Bobby Carr. It's got a cadence
to
it.
But aren't you underlining my point then, that they were not doing good writing and they weren't name checking these people?
No, that's a choice. That's the thing, when you're in the writer's room, you got to fight for that shit. And if you're naming all these characters on the bridge, it's like, okay, I am 52 years old. I have been a comic book fan my entire life.
Sure.
If you like wired my testicles to a car battery, I could not tell you most of the names of the Legion of Superheroes secret aliases.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, sure. They're alien names. Sure.
They're gobbledygook.
Rock Crim.
Fuck if I know who that is.
I want to say it's Cosmic Boy. All right.
Yeah,
I'm such a Legion fan. There you go.
But it's like it's all gobbledygook.
I'm hip. No, I agree.
The only one I remember is Tenzil Kim, because I think it's so funny. He came from the planet Bismol and he can eat anything.
Matter Eater Lad was Tenzil Krim. That's interesting.
Tenzil Kim. I remember Tenzil Kim just because Matter Eater Lad is such a ludicrous concept. And
absolutely, my God, yes, absolutely. But, see, Dan, that's why you got to do the game show later, man. I'm telling you. I gotta get somebody else with you, and we do comic book trivia. You guys would be great.
Gun to my head, and I've read Legion comics. I know their handles. Oh, that's Colossal Boy. That's Shrinking Violet. That's I know all their handles because you can remember that.
Well, sure. Well, no, and I wouldn't do the alien. I wouldn't do the aliens. Like, for instance, all right, Dan, who's the roster of the original champions?
The original champions?
Yes, 75 champions.
You're
Yes.
talking like Hercules, Ghost Rider, Angel, Iceman, Black Widow. Hercules, Ghost Rider, Angel, Iceman, Black Widow. Oh my God, am I missing one?
No, that's it. You did it. This is what I'm talking about.
No, but then they bring in Beast and Moondragon eventually.
Right, later. But I meant the original 5. Very good.
Yeah.
See, this is what I'm saying, Dan. This is why.
No, but like they're.
It's the weirdest superhero team of the 70s, and I love that the way Isabella put them together and the people he wanted that he couldn't get and stuff. I loved reading all about that. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, why is this a team?
No, but each of those guys, you remember them.
Of course, that's what I'm saying. I know, and that's what I'm saying. But also, you remember them because you're 52. I remember them because I'm 55. I understand, and that's why it'll be fun, like doing that kind of deep Marvel trivia and stuff. You know what I mean?
But there's certain characters, like you just give someone a name, and I will remember them.
Oh, sure.
I will remember. Oh, Lucius Fox is that guy.
Well,
Lucius
and that's
Fox
why
is a name that sticks with you.
Well, and that's why Stan did the alliterative names, because they were easy to remember.
Yeah. Oh no, Pepper Potts.
Absolutely,
Pepper Potts.
Peter Parker. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, you go. You remember everybody. Sure. It's so frustrating.
But but again, that's one thing is, yes. I mean, again, there's too much action happening on the bridge for them not to name check. I did like Captain Pike a lot.
Oh, dude,
a lot.
This is because I said I had 2 problems.
Go on.
The problem 2, the second they show you the Enterprise bridge, the second they show you Pike and Number 1, you immediately go, oh, fuck the show I'm watching.
Yes.
I want to watch that show.
That's right.
That is the biggest problem with Discovery Season 2.
100%.
Is that the minute you show me that sweet, sweet candy, that's the show I want to watch.
Yeah.
Why am I on the show with the magic mushroom drive when I could be over on the Enterprise with that cool ass set? It's a problem they have in Doctor Who whenever they show you someone else's TARDIS. You go, oh, well, can't we go in that TARDIS? Yep. That TARDIS looks cool.
Yep.
Why am I in this TARDIS, which is your main TARDIS?
Yep.
No, and it's a mean thing to say, but you could say it with even, like not with the 13th Doctor's TARDIS. You can say it with the 12th Doctor's TARDIS,
sure,
which was also the last of the 11th Doctor TARDIS. Even though they're great sets, the minute you pull on the ones with the hexagons and the round things in the walls, and the spinner and the thing and the
sure. The 50th anniversary show with the War Doctor's TARDIS, and and both Matt Smith and David Tennant, like, oh, the round things, the round things. What do they do? I don't know.
It's like when they show you that new Doctor's TARDIS, or when Clara and me are on their diner TARDIS. You know,
Wait,
every other
we're
TARDIS.
not done with Discovery yet. Hold on a second.
All right. You want to dish on Discovery more?
Two things. Okay, first of all, Mir Giorgio. I'm sorry, bullshit. Starfleet goes, oh yeah, we're going to take this Empress from the Mirror Universe that is a cannibal and female Hitler over in the Mirror Universe. Yeah, we're going to put her in Starfleet. Bullshit.
No, I disagree. You know why I disagree?
Talk to me, please.
The world we're living in now. We have a world where Stephen Miller, white nationalist, is yeah, if that can happen in our world, you can get a Giorgio.
Oh, and I'm with you on that, Danny. You're right as far as our world, but I kind of and they continue in this direction, and that's all I'll say about Star Trek Picard, where the whole idea of
I've seen
Roddenberry's original vision of being the utopia of, hey, we're past all that shit now. Earth has gotten its shit together when it comes to that stuff. We can still find conflict. Hold on, let me finish. Hold on.
Okay.
And then by all means rebut, because seriously, I really appreciate this, and you have strong opinions, and you're a strong writer, and I absolutely respect
the moment you go for the "it's a utopia" thing, it was never utopia. Even in the why. It's late at night. I'm even blanking on the creator of Star Trek, Roddenberry. Even in the original Roddenberry. It's a utopia.
Tell me when it wasn't a utopia. Tell me when Starfleet and Earth wasn't a utopia.
It was never a utopia. It always had cracks. It always had flaws.
Well, there's always people. There's always individuals that want to run against the system. But man.
Any world where I got to be a janitor, there's a janitor. We've seen them.
But there's a janitor. But there's a janitor that just does.
Janitor?
No, but there's a janitor that does the job, but still is living a decent life.
Yeah, no,
in the utopia, and also, wait a minute.
I can't get Romulan ale. I have to have black market Romulan ale.
Sure. Oh no, there's definitely cheats around the corners, but when it comes to the big things, we've gotten our shit together. And also, by the way, you can still have conflict, and you can still find conflict when Earth is dealing with the other races. I mean, where you have that great moment in Deep Space Nine and it's one of my favorites of the last season, when they help Vic Fontaine get the casino back. And Sisko's like, yeah, I'm not playing. And they're like, what's your problem? He's like, I'll tell you what my problem is. Las Vegas 1962. I wasn't welcome there. Why would I want to go in the holodeck with this BS? Fuck you. And it's like, yeah, man, good for you. That's legit. That is totally legit. But again, in the case of Discovery, I don't think and I understand your modern day Stephen Miller example. I don't think that flies, and it flies in the face of Starfleet, and it's a choice, and they've made that choice, and that's fine. I just don't buy it.
No, you're totally fine with a Starfleet that was totally happy to dismantle Data and take them apart.
No, I'm not, because again, that was the contrarian opinion, and the overriding opinion was, no, we couldn't do that. Of course, we're not going to do that, and that was why they had the trial. And which is Measure of the Man is truly probably the best episode of the second season.
No, but it's got problems like that,
Well, of course, but that's what I'm saying. There's individuals.
Okay. Oh my God, we're in a utopia in Roddenberry world, and every fifth line of dialogue is effectively calling Spock the Vulcan N-word.
What, half-breed or whatever?
Yeah, no, it's like they're joking about him like, oh, you wacky alien with no feelings. You suck.
Well, all right, I guess. But again, I point to that more as the time, and I suppose.
How many Roddenberry episodes where the end joke is making fun of Spock because of his
sure. Oh, no, I'll give you. But also, it was also familial of, hey, we're all screwing around on you. Messing with you. We love you.
Racist Vulcan jokes.
Yeah. Wow. I see. I don't know, man. I didn't see it that way. But again, I'm a cisgender old man, a white dude, so maybe I'm wrong. But what I would say,
we're not going down that hole.
All right. But what I would say about Discovery and everything, and again with Giorgio and stuff, there were always exceptions. There's that admiral from Deep Space Nine that tries to do the coup d'état and declare martial law on Earth with the Dominion and everything. Robert Foxworthy's Admiral character that Cisco loved, and then found out that it was their 7 Days in May, basically.
What about what is it? Star Trek Insurrection.
Sure,
they're perfectly happy.
Yes, Dougherty out. Yes.
Yeah,
and also Admiral Cartwright and all the conspirators in Undiscovered Country. That's what I'm saying. I don't deny that there are pockets of disbelievers of the status quo and or even
willing to cut corners.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's your Georgia.
Yeah, but that's not. But again. But when Starfleet finds out who those people are, they rise against them. Well, they don't welcome them into the fold.
You know what that is then?
What?
That's a future storyline.
What's a future story? That eventually they're going to come to their senses?
Yeah.
I don't believe that, dude. Because again, all these other examples.
Only a pocket of people know about it in Starfleet. And when the rest of Starfleet finds out, there'll be a comeuppance.
I look forward to you watching the Star Trek Picard show, and we'll see.
All right.
But that's all I'll say about that. But and there's no direct ties to Discovery. But also, the two things about Spock, fixating on Spock's smile in the cage is insane and just stupid, because that was a pilot where a character was not fully developed, and you well know that the network is like, we don't like number one, Major Barrett's first officer. We don't like the guy with the ears. Lose one of them. And Gene Roddenberry, in his wisdom, he took the character of number one and he imprinted it on Spock. That's my attempt at a Gene Roddenberry.
Well, that was terrible.
But honestly, and I love Michael Chabon. He's a genius. He doesn't need me saying he's a genius, but he's hold on. Let me finish. He is fixated
because we saw it in the Menagerie.
What's that saying again?
It's canon because we saw it in the Menagerie.
I understand that, but again,
it's canon. Canon.
Well, I don't think you fixate on that. I think, and again, because there are episodes in the first season where Spock smiles. I get it, but I also think they just hadn't really solidified the character. Because then you go back, and I know it's not canon, but everybody loves the animated episode Yesteryear. And that 8-year-old Spock's got his shit together a hell of a lot more than Ethan Peck.
I did a Netflix binge of that not long ago.
It's great. There's great episodes.
There's some beauties in there.
Well, because you know what's awesome? Lou Scheimer, the guy from Filmation that was the producer of that show, and I saw him say this in one of his last San Diego panels. He's like, as far as I was concerned, we were doing the fourth season of Star Trek. He goes, yeah, it's an animated show, but we got like top science fiction writers. And he goes, I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be good Star Trek. And it was.
You'd see the writer credit and you'd be like, dude, it's the same writers from the TV show.
Dorothy Fontana wrote that Yesteryear episode. Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And Melissa Snodgrass. And Dan, that's another thing that drives me nuts, big picture for both shows. In this new golden age of television. And again, Michael Chabon is a wonderful name, but I got to tell you, the product we're getting is not part of the golden age of television.
I'm not touching that.
I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
I'm not going near that.
How about the Walter Mosley bullshit last year?
I do love Mud. I do. I love seeing hardcore Fenton Mud.
And I was. You know, I'm not crazy about him becoming a killer, but I did love when Stella showed up. That was fantastic. I agree. And I even liked from the first season the Mud episode with the looping time and everything. I thought that was. I mean, and I'll even give you another one from the second season. When they go back to Talos 4 and Pike and Vina are together again. That was great. Great acting, great scenes. The only thing I would say is they kind of missed the point of the Telosians. Because the Telosians have been using their minds all this time, and in the original pilot and everything, the whole point of them being tiny women playing these male roles was their bodies had atrophied because of their brains being so big. And in Discovery, when they go back to the Telosians, basketball tall, giants, NBA. It's the NBA team from
let it go. Let it go. if I can get through some of the big ass retcons in Doctor Who's last season, you can get through
and
this.
We'll get to that, but my last comment about Spock is I hated that they made him dyslexic. It's like fuck you.
Oh, yeah.
And that Michael Burnham is the reason why.
No, but
find that opposite person.
You know what?
Oh, thank you, sister.
You know what? You know what? If you take Spock and you make Spock dyslexic, and now there's some dyslexic kid out there who's happy, good for them.
Get a dyslexic character. Honestly, I'm not against that. It's retconning Spock.
No.
Well, and I'll even say this, Dan. Honestly,
it doesn't hurt Spock at all.
Well,
if anything, it gives a dyslexic kid something to look up to.
I have had a teacher of people of dyslexia tell me that this is possible, but what didn't make sense to me was if Spock was dyslexic, how is it in Star Trek 4 he's able to stand in front of the computers when he's trying to get his shit back together and, name this whatever, do this chess move. What is this Klingon mummification? How do you feel? All that stuff. When the computers are spitting out questions, forgive me. And really, if this is my own ignorance, I will plead to the ignorance and apologize. I don't see a dyslexic person being able to do that. Spock's brain works better than a dyslexic person.
What about Doctor Who?
All right, we're moving on to Doctor Who. Fair enough. I made my point, and God bless you for not wanting to touch it. I don't blame you.
I'm not going near that.
All right, that's cool. Man, it pissed me off. And honestly, I really like Jodie, the idea of Jodie Whittaker, and I like her basic character, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But I really hate the way it's been written the last 2 years. I'm not a big fan. I don't mind the family as individuals. It's too many companions and not enough doctors.
That's the problem. My problem isn't with any of the characters. My problem, it's this, they kind of sold everybody on it as saying, well, it's like the first Doctor with Barbara and Susan. Right. That it's the Doctor and these three companions, and it's going to have that vibe. But what you ended up getting was you ended up getting the fifth Doctor with the crowded TARDIS. That the more characters you bring in, the more time you have to dedicate to them in every issue, in every episode. There's only so much track you can lay out.
Yep.
And there's only so much real estate, and you have to start giving scenes to different characters. And when you do that, there's an immediate problem, which is your supporting cast for any individual episode, the guest star and whatever other aliens or people, they immediately get short shrift. So there's, if you think to any of the big episodes, outside of when they bring in a character like they had the Judoon episode was the standout, but outside of that, anytime they brought on any extra characters, whatever planet they go to, whatever thing they do, by the time you leave, you've forgotten them all.
Yes.
Yes. Where if I have like a good example from the David Tennant era was the Satan's Pit.
Sure.
I cared about every single person on that base that was getting killed. There was some kind of hook or thing about each one of them and the way they were acted and the things they were doing where I cared about them.
Or the Waters of Mars.
Yeah.
Same thing.
You care about everybody on that base.
Yep.
And then when you get, the minute you have three companions and the Doctor to service, there's not that much for anybody else to do.
Yeah.
And with the Doctor, you're also giving some of the Doctor's bits to some of the companions.
Right.
So that everybody has something to do.
Sure.
And the Doctor needs to be the most proactive, creative, out there character. And if suddenly other characters are coming up with solutions and other characters are doing things, you're getting a Doctor that's kind of crowdsourcing the solution instead of being, one of my problems with the season, like I love Jodie's Doctor. I love the actress. I love the character, but they don't have enough room to go out and do something clever and save the day in a way where you understand it. So a lot of her biggest moments are internal, where she'll pull out the sonic, she'll wave it in the air, she'll look at it like it's a tricorder, and then she will spout out technobabble, which saves the day.
Yep.
And that's never as exciting as someone running to do something and figuring things out for themselves and, being smart.
Yep.
And saying it in a way where you, the reader, feel like the viewer, go, oh, I got that because I saw that piece over there and I saw that piece over there. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, the doctor is so clever.
Sure.
As opposed to, I read it on my tricorder. It's frustrating. It's not that I want better writing. I think it's that if they took even one companion out, even though I like all three.
Well, they're getting rid of one companion. The grandfather's not sticking around. He's leaving.
I believe also Ryan is going too.
Oh.
Tosin. So, I think if they went down to one companion or two companions, there would be more room.
Hopefully. And yeah, I would agree with that. I got to tell you, I hated the finale. I hated the retconned history of the Doctor.
I think it's interesting.
Go on.
I think it's interesting, and there's a lot of fun to be had with it. There's puzzle pieces. The thing that I didn't like was that the Doctor didn't do anything proactive. That the Master led the Doctor by the nose.
Right. Well, I'm assuming it's the first part of what will be resolved, obviously, in the next first episode of the next season.
Yeah. But the character of the Doctor, gets led by the nose,
right,
by the Master, put in a holding pen.
Yep, literally.
And then through the Matrix, gets all the information told to them.
Yep.
So if the Doctor doesn't do anything.
No.
And even the Doctor's escape from the Matrix, she remembers the Ruth Doctor, the Zero Doctor.
Right. Yeah.
That Doctor gives her the solution.
Yep.
To how to get out.
Yep.
So the character is led by the nose the whole time, force-fed all the information, then meets a past version of themselves who gives them the key to get out of the trap. What has the Doctor done that is heroic?
Well, and also, by the way, why doesn't the Jodie Whittaker Doctor remember this, given that she's already experienced it, if she was the Zero Doctor?
That's part of the mythos now. That's part of the mystery.
Yeah, that's a bunch of shit.
No. I don't have a problem with that.
I do.
I don't have a problem with that at all.
Much like Discovery, I have no problem with these characters if they were future, and including the Zero Doctor. Because when I saw the teaser, I'm like, oh, that's cool. All right, we're seeing a future Doctor. Oh, no. She's the first Doctor.
The whole reason that technically we learned from the last episode she's not even that.
Well, or whatever.
Yeah, that they're
it's been happening. Yes, I know it's been happening since she was a child. I understand. Bullshit. Bullshit. William Hartnell stole the TARDIS. That's where the story began. Sorry.
What they're saying is that the William Hartnell Doctor, that there had a whole bunch of regenerations before them and had it wiped. It's that whole subplot with the baby found on the road in that town. That whole whatever that is.
Yeah.
That's the part where your mind gets wiped when you work for the Division, quote unquote.
Yeah.
So the Doctor has secretly been working for the Division, and then have their mind wiped. So that's fine. That's fair, and we've seen that. We've seen that in Doctor Who, though. The Doctor does it to Donna Noble, and then with Clara's last episode, the Capaldi Doctor gets his mind wiped of Clara. That this can happen. We've even seen it with the Chameleon Arch.
I understand.
With the Chameleon Arch can wipe your mind.
I understand. Again, it's changed the origin of Doctor Who, which wasn't necessary.
No.
It wasn't necessary. I'll give you a different wrinkle that I don't.
You were talking to the man who just said, "Hey, here's where the Fantastic Four's first spaceship was going to go to."
Yeah, but again, that isn't changing. I mean, because I was going to use the example that Brian did in Superman with Rogol Zah, the guy who orchestrated the explosion of Krypton. Krypton still exploded, but there was a guy behind it. Okay. they still went off to space and they got their powers, but yeah, they were going to go to this planet instead. Okay, that's fine. That really doesn't change. That doesn't change. There weren't. Reed Richards didn't become Mr. Fantastic because his grandfather was stretchy and everything. I mean, and again, this I understand. They've done Mind Wipes before. They have added all of these past lives of the Doctor.
But what are we gonna get our nerd on now, Suntress? Are we gonna talk about?
Talk to me, my man. Do it. Throw it down.
Brain of Morbius, man.
Oh, I remember. I remember that, and I understand
all those orangey faces going in that.
Sure.
Yeah,
you're right. That's a big continuity kind of like, what is that? But again, that's one episode. The Valyard, man. You're back to Spock smiling again.
Valyard.
Oh, yeah, you're right about the Valyard tit wasn't the Valyard. How did they explain the Valyard, actually?
Oh, who the hell knows?
All right. Isn't it
I've watched all of Trial of the Time Lord, and I can't tell you.
I understand. I respect that, because I was about to say, isn't it fantastic that as lousy as those Colin Baker TV shows were, how great he is on those Big Finish
shows. He's wonderful on Big Finish.
Really, and I'm so pleased for him. And he knows he's been redeemed with those.
I will say this. You go and you watch Vengeance on Barrows. That's a very good episode.
Okay.
That it's Colin Baker episode. It's got one weird moment in it, though, in Vengeance on Barrows that always makes me go, yeah, I'd like to edit this one moment where, okay, you watch the Timothy Dalton James Bond movie where it's the one where it's the South American drug guys?
Yeah, License to Kill.
License to Kill. Okay.
I know my Bond. Go on.
There's one the weirdest thing about that Bond for me is when you get to the main villain should have the most memorable death.
Yeah.
The main villain should have the death that is the one where they suffer the most in a very creative way. They really get their comeuppance, right?
Yeah.
And yet there's the scene where there's like a drawer of maggots or something, and Bond knocks like thug number 3 into the box of maggots and closes it. And you're like, that's the way the villain should have died. The villain just
give you that.
Shot or something.
Yeah.
You've given the most creative and painful and horrifying death to thug number 3.
Yeah, it's a flawed movie. It's definitely a flawed movie. By the way, let's do our Insurrection License to Kill connection, because Anthony Zerba played one of the bad guys in License to Kill. In fact, was Admiral Dougherty. Dougherty out.
Dougherty. But there's a moment in Vengeance on Barrows where there are these vats of acid, and the Doctor, who never kills anyone, is facing like thug number 4, just random guy, and he pushes him into a vat of acid. And I go,
oh, wow.
What the hell, Doctor? Jesus.
Well, that's I like that, and I can't remember. It was definitely Tenet. I can't remember the name of the episode, but it was one of the ones that Cornell wrote. And Cornell and I talked about it. And I'm like,
there's a Family of Blood.
Is it where he punishes the family?
He screws with all of them.
Yes.
And their punishments do not seem equal. They're
very cruel. They're very cruel.
Very cruel.
And I love that, because it's like, to me,
but they're still alive.
They are still alive.
They are still alive.
But to me, and I said this with Paul, I'm like, that to me says, you got to remember, the Doctor's an alien. He is very much rooting for us, but at the end of the day, he's kind of got his own code, and this is like him, saying, no, fuck you. You really fucked me over here, and you're going to pay for it. And it's like, wow, goddamn, every now and then you might have to be – it's like your moment when Doc Ock realizes and he punches the Scorpion and he breaks his jaw, and he's like, holy shit, he was holding back.
All these years, yeah. Spider-Man could really done some serious damage.
I love that, man. That's like one of my favorite moments that you ever wrote. Seriously, that's a great moment. It's like, that is fantastic. That's amazing,
No, but I hear you. And every time the Doctor is ruthless, it sticks with you. Like
Sure.
how he treats the one lone Dalek in the Dalek episode.
Yes.
And when you have David Tennant, the first Donna episode when she's the bride, when he's just killing all the children of the leader of the Rachnos.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
And he's just standing there, and Donna's kind of like, at the end, he does the whole, "Hey, would you like to be my companion?" And she's like, "No." I just watched you like wipe out all of someone's children and not show any of it on your face. You need but you need to get a companion because you need someone to tell you no.
That's great.
You know.
Yeah, man.
No, man, I hear you. I want to watch some Doctor Who.
I'm rooting for Jodie. I hope it gets better. Like I said, I'm sorry. I just don't buy this. It's not going to make me never watch the show again like some people, but it really does bum me out. It bums me out.
This season was a much improved season over the previous season.
All right.
The previous season had like one or two or three standout episodes. Yeah. It had like the Rosa Parks episode was brilliant.
I'll go with that.
And this season, it had some jaw on the floor moments, like when they did the Master reveal. When they did,
I like the new Master. He's all right. I wish I'll be honest. I wish they would have hung on to Missy because I think it would be fun having two women kind of fight each other.
Oh no, I hear you, but it's kind of like I like it whenever somebody. I don't think you would get that because, and this comes from being a writer on a franchise. When you take over the franchise, you put your own stamp on it and you do your own thing.
Sure.
And people are like, oh, I would have liked you to carry on
something familiar. Yeah, something familiar.
Carry on the stories from the last guy's thing. And you're like, I'm not interested in that.
Well, but some of them, and I guess it was still the same showrunner, even though it was a different doctor, having River throughout.
No, but that's because that's the character that Moffat created.
Right.
And he was invested in that character.
That's true. You're right. I'm just finding I disagree with Chibnall in general. And also, much like Discovery, I do think that this show is putting its politics ahead of its story. And
I don't have that problem with anything because so many. I don't like the argument that you're putting your politics into this story.
No, ahead of your story, not in the story. Ahead of your story. Make the story work first. I got no problem with changing politics.
I think you have to do it hand in hand because.
Well, sure.
We get this a lot from a certain segment of fandom.
Oh, and I'm hip. Yeah. And I don't want to sound like Fandom Menace, and I don't want to sound like the Comicsgate people. I'll name them.
I'm not naming anyone.
All right.
Because you look at Stan Lee stuff, and his politics are all over.
Absolutely there.
But there's politics now that, the kind of people who wouldn't like that politics, that exact same politics in their comics now, have to begrudgingly, through this lens of history, go, they were on the right side. Yeah, we like that politics.
Dan, all I know is, going back to Star Trek, you had 7 seasons of Voyager with incredibly strong, important women that led the way and were the lead characters, not in the sacrifice of the men on the show. And I don't see that in today's Discovery, and I think Doctor Who leans that way. Again, that's me, and truly, I respect you as a writer, as you know. I appreciate and am glad you disagree because I would rather have this kind of Yankees-Mets conversation rather than two men shaking, our fists at the sky like Abe Simpson yelling at a cloud. So it's okay.
Here, let me throw it this way.
Sure, please.
I think one of the best written television shows of last year and the year before and the year before that. And this is a bit of a cheat because they had one season that they split into 2 where it's clearly they call it season 2 and season 3.
Sure.
It's really all season 2.
Okay.
Is on Netflix, She-Ra.
Great. Good to hear.
The She-Ra show is so well written.
That's cool.
You care about all the characters. The characters go. You will not see a show, any genre show, of the last 2 or 3 years that has the development of the characters in the She-Ra show, or has especially the villains. You care about all the villains, almost in a very Miyazaki-like way.
Interesting.
You care about all of their arcs, and you care about them as people, and you care about what they want and why they do what they do. And it is successfully, over its 3 or 4 seasons, it's really 3. It successfully not sidestepped a trap. It accepted this. You watch a show like Buffy.
Yeah.
And
Love Buffy.
Buffy is great, but there's kind of like an inverse ratio of when the show's about Buffy Summers, the show is great. When the show is about the Slayer and the mythos of the Slayer, the show is boring. That the Slayer is only interesting because she is Buffy.
I agree with that.
It's not the other way around.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So the more time they spend on the mythos of the world, the more boring it gets.
Yeah.
And the more you're like, I care about Buffy. I care about Willow. I don't care about, the
Hellmouth and the Slayer and all the myth. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. That stuff is trappings.
Right.
And they when it's teased out to you as breadcrumbs over seasons, it's interesting because you care about it, because it's happening to the characters you care about. But when episodes get all Slayer specific, you start running into episodes like when they started wrapping up Lost. And you have those 2 brothers on the island explaining to you
we didn't do that shit. I agree with you. As much as I love what's-his-face, who's Mighty Bosch on Amazon Prime now.
Yeah, but you don't
love that guy.
You don't care about the brothers and the mythos of the smoke monster and why that statue had 6 toes or whatever. You don't care about that. You care about Freckles, and you care about you care about Hurley, and you care about all those guys and what they're doing. You don't care about the mythos.
But again, aren't you saying exactly what I was saying about with Doctor Who when you were saying that between the characters and then also introducing the villains, there was so little for the Doctor to do.
But that's different. But it's no. But I'm going to cycle back.
Go on.
The amazing thing they do in She-Ra is as they tell you the mythos, it's interesting, and it's constantly interesting because it's constantly tied to the characters.
Okay. I believe. Well, and also, how much did we have coming out of He-Man of She-Ra, really, and her backstory and everything? I have no idea. At this point, I was trying to get laid. I wasn't watching He-Man.
No, it's so well done. And one of the things about the She-Ra show is that you totally know the politics of everybody working on that show. You totally get it. You totally know which characters are gay and bi, and which characters have 2 dads, and which characters. No, but there's all these things that are done in such a way where I'm getting to your point. It's not intruding on the story; it's part of the story, and you care about everybody. But yet the people who want to hate it will latch onto that and go, "You're shoving your politics in my face."
No, but again, my point is, and again, using Voyager as an example, it's fine. It's great. Have strong women. Have strong gay women. That doesn't matter. Tell me a good story. But no, they're too busy. Dude, even in the second season, they got that science officer that gets whacked in the first episode with Pike. And it's like, hey, I'm an asshole white guy, and I'm really not listening to you because you're Michael Burnham and you're just a specialist or whatever. And it's like, okay, I don't believe half of the people, and usually they're men, that are in Starfleet and incompetent. There's a short trek that they did about the Tribbles with H. John Benjamin. And it's like, this person would not be in Starfleet. And also, as much as she's fun from a... Hold hold on. As well as another one, and this is an even more major character, Tilly. There's no way in hell Tilly would be in Starfleet. She is not Barclay. She is not. I mean, if you're going to, I don't think. I'm sorry. I don't think so.
What? She is so Barclay. No.
Barclay never had to say fuck.
No, Wah, wah. No, you're really the minute you're going after Tilly and in a world where Barclay exists, you're full of crap, John.
All right,
Tilly is Barclay.
I guess, but
Tilly is so Barclay it hurts.
There's a lot of, and also, by the way, Dr. Culver is a horrible doctor. I go back to the first season when Ash Tyler is having palpitations because his Klingon persona is emerging. I've got to go on this rescue mission. It's important. Okay, no problem, man. I'll clear you. And it's like, no, you won't, doctor. What kind of fucking doctor are you? Good Lord. And the same in the second season. Actually, maybe it was part of the first season.
Not make me go through like all the times where Bones couldn't have done stuff.
No. This is all about Culver, Ash Tyler and Culver. Ash Tyler kills Culver, and then we get this Degrassi High moment of, well, you killed one of our best friends, and we know you're being ostracized by Burnham, but we'll still be your friend, Ash. It's okay. Come sit with us in the cafeteria. Fuck you. Bullshit. Bullshit. I'm sorry, man. I'll even give you my Tilly Barclay thing because you are right. I'll concede the Barclay Tilly thing.
Good.
I absolutely will concede that. But I'm sorry, man. I just think again we got the nerd table at the golden age of writing of television writing right now. Star Trek's got all the nerds, all the misfits are over there. This is Raheem. This is Jugdish. This is Sydney. This is the
okay. We're in a dangerous time in fandom where
agreed.
Where you can have people online go, I don't like Sonic's teeth, and suddenly, hundreds and hundreds of people are working around the clock, night and day, and not sleeping, and making it look like classic Sonic.
Yeah, but okay, I don't have a problem with that.
In that case, they fixed it.
Well, that's what I mean.
That movie would have been a horror show.
Totally.
If it
they just would have blown it. Yeah, they just would have blown it. That's all.
It totally would have blown it. But the problem is now you've given a win to that column, and now, oh my God, now all these idiots are going to show up and go, I don't like this thing in Birds of Prey. Blah 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 blah.
Let's start a petition. Yeah.
And you're just.
I hear you, man.
Oh, God.
Hey, I like Solo. I don't think it's a great movie, but I think it's a really good movie. The only problem is nobody else can be Han Solo, especially after Harrison Ford just died on camera. And I like that actor.
I know. I hear you, and I loved him in what was it? Hail Caesar.
Yeah, Hail Caesar, and also the Warren Beatty Howard Hughes movie.
Yeah. No, so
rules don't apply. Yeah, those are. I mean, no, he's great in both of those movies.
Yeah, and you go, oh, you poor bastard.
Yeah, he's George Lazenby. He's the George Lazenby of Han Solos.
Yeah, why would anyone do that to somebody?
Yeah,
that's hurtful. But what are you gonna do? You gonna take Harrison Ford and Irishman him? No.
I still liked it, Irishman.
I liked Irishman too. I enjoyed it, and I really enjoyed watching it on Netflix, where I could stop every hour, close it like a book, live my life,
I watched
an hour of it.
I watched it in 2 sittings. I understand. It was the night before Thanksgiving and the night of Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
that's when I watched it.
I could not watch that in 1 sitting. I couldn't watch it in 2. I broke it into thirds.
That's cool. I love the memes of people telling you how to break it into 4 chapters and stuff.
Oh, I like the memes of the people telling those memes to shove it. Because it's the same thing they did for Endgame,
Oh, did they really? I didn't notice that.
There were all these charts for Endgame of when you could get up to pee.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, that people put those online, and you're like, just watch the movie.
No, I agree with that. By the way, with The Irishman, next time you're in Chicago, we got to go because I took everybody who's working on Strange Adventures, Mitch Garrett's, Doc Shaner, Tom King, and Cully Hamner, and my friend Jeff Quarter, and we all went to this place. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's called Miller's Pub, and it's like having dinner in The Irishman. You are, I mean, it's a restaurant that goes back to 1985.
There's so many moments in The Irishman I loved. I loved the bit with the watermelon and the booze.
Yes. And plus just Bo Deal being in a Martin Scorsese movie. I hate that guy when he shows up on Fox, but he was hilarious in The Irishman.
There's so much good in that.
Oh yeah.
I didn't have the Anna Paquin problem that people had, but then again, I'm not a woman, so like tell me that argument. Other than that, she barely has any lines in the whole movie.
It's like Cal Penn in Superman Returns.
And you just go like, she's such a gifted actress. Why aren't you, and why aren't you let her speak? But I didn't have the problem. Everyone, it's weird. It's like, it's why you need more voices in the room. It's why you need, it's like, what's a good example?
Liv Tyler too, and Ad Astra.
No, it's like, the works of Winsor McCay.
Sure.
Little Nemo.
Yeah.
I love Winsor McCay's work, his artwork, the imagination. But if you look at it, there's no denying, especially when you see his political cartoons, that this is a horrible human being who is a terrible racist.
Yeah.
You just and not just the product of his time, a proud product of his time.
I'm with you.
And I so adored his work that I had like large volumes and collections of the oversized kind of thing. And I had someone coming over to my apartment at one point, an editor who is a person of color, and they saw the Winsor McCay stuff and they're like, "Why do you have that man's work? Like why why is that in your house?" And I go, "Well, look at the line work and the this," and their take was like, no, that it's like might as well have been a Confederate flag.
I hear you. Well, it's like Cosby now.
Yeah, but
his toxicity has ruined his body of work.
Yes, and you're like, well, and I was making all the arguments of, well, it's a product of the time and this and that, and then someone knew how much I liked Winsor McCay, and they got me this book of his editorial cartoons.
Wow.
And I was looking at it and going, oh, there he is doing this again. Oh, now it's the Asians. Oh, yeah. Now
Jack London.
Polynesians, and and I'm like, but and I kept telling myself it's a product of the time. It's a product of the time. And then I hit a page where he went after the Jews, and I was like, that fucking prick. He's dead.
Oh, there you go. Jack London was the same way in sports. I mean, brilliant writer, Call of the Wild and all that stuff. And he was leading, as a sports writer, the charge for Jim Jeffries to come out of retirement and stop that black man, Jack Johnson. And literally one of his editorials. It's up to you, Jeff, for the good of the white race.
No, but I mean, it's the minute it went into my pool.
Sure.
The minute it went to my people, then suddenly my eyes open up and I'm like, oh God, I'm an asshole.
Well, you didn't know.
No, it's not. How can you not know? How can you not know? Where you make excuses for this and that and the other, and it's only when they come after your guys then you go, and I'm like, okay, now I get it. That was an eye opener for me, and
but I also think it was probably it was likely a culmination of seeing all the uncomfortable stuff, and then this last straw was obviously then. Oh yeah, by the way, I hate the Jews.
No, I think if I had gone through that whole thing and there wasn't pictures of him going after Jews, I think I would have found some kind of rationalization.
Interesting.
I think it honestly took, the shoe literally being on the other foot for me to go. So when I'm talking to someone from who has a different viewpoint, who sees things from a different point of view than I do, where it's not making me upset, but I can see it's making them upset, I go, yeah. So like with the Anna Paquin thing, where the character only has like X number of words she said in the movie, and then I don't, I'm aware of it while I'm watching it, where I'm like, well, this is odd. but I'm not offended by it. And then I talk to a friend who is female and is offended by it. It makes me go, I need to re-examine this. I need to look at this again.
I got to tell you, Dan, go on, and then I'll say.
Because this isn't my worldview. I'm not looking at it through, my eyes. I need to look at it through someone else's eyes. And I need to be better about that. When that warning bell goes off, not just to go, well, that's odd. I need the warning bell to go off and go, oh, this isn't good, right? This isn't, and then I need to talk to friends and go, because
my argument would be because I felt this way when I heard people griping about Ford versus Ferrari, and that the minimal role that Christian Bale's characters, the wife, had in the story. It's like, it's not about her. It's not about Anna Paquin's character either. She is an accent, and if anything, this is I'm sorry. And I know that there are historic licenses or dramatic license in terms of telling this historic story, but this is about the men who were behind the Union, and it's like, I get it.
No.
Go ahead.
Because the end of that story in The Irishman.
Yes, go on.
The real prison he's in,
right,
is no one cares, and he's an old man alone in a room without his family.
That's right.
And one of the most important relationships in his life, and it adds more weight to the story, is the relationship he has with his daughter.
Right.
And when that relationship falls apart, and how it falls apart, and how his daughter felt about Jimmy Hoffa, and to sideline the character and not give her literally a voice, because that hurts your story. It could be a stronger story if we have scenes with her talking with the dad.
I'll tell you, Dan, I just know too many families where that's the reality of, no, the daughter walks away and doesn't have the conversation with the father. I respect what you're saying, and I agree that you could go that way, but I'm saying that there's an argument to go the way that Scorsese went.
That relationship is so pivotal especially to the very end.
I understand.
Why not make it stronger? Why not?
Well, again, it's more the regret and the fact that they didn't have the conversation. That's the drama. And again, I live in a family that has had that kind of thing where people have walked away from the family where it's like, no, I'm never going to confront that person and tell them how I really feel about this shit. Fuck them. They don't deserve if they don't see how fucked up this world is, and this is my feeling of Anna Paquin's character. No, I mean, how dare he and again, she was already a very internal character from being a child. And again, I totally get what you're saying, and they could have gone that way, but I don't think it's a right or wrong choice myself.
All right.
And again, God bless you for having the contrarian opinion. I love it. This is great. What else can we argue about? Honestly, man, this is like sports, because some people do take it to the point where it's like, well, you're a Mets fan. Fuck you. I'm never going to talk to you. It's like, I don't take sports that seriously. I don't even take nerd shit that seriously. It's like, I'm cool with somebody that disagrees with me, especially, and about the new Star Trek as well. It's like, and new Doctor Who. It's like, okay, cool. You love it. That's awesome. Go. And again, I'm always willing to give both okay, maybe I'll like it more next time. Maybe I'll like it more, especially in the midst of both Discovery and Picard. Every week, I'm like, all right, maybe I'll like this episode better. No, okay, or whatever. And again, I haven't given up.
No, it's weird because
I'm not hate watching. I wouldn't say I'm hate watching.
No, but there's a level of investment in the property.
Sure.
Whether you're really into Star Wars and you're going to watch everything.
God, yes, and that's how I'm with Star Trek, man.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like with Star Wars, because we can both look at that objectively.
Yes.
Where with Star Trek, you are in deep.
No, dude, I've been watching it since I was 5. I blew off The West Wing for Voyager, and people are like, you are missing one of the greatest shows ever. And I'm like, I can't not watch Star Trek. I don't think you understand.
Yeah, no. When you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. I bought a ticket to Crystal Skull, for Christ's sake.
There you go. And I love Indiana Jones, absolutely. And there's another one. Oh boy. So go back to Star Wars. What were you going to say?
Yeah, no, but it's like you watch Star Wars, and like we live in a world, and I think a lot of it is social media and the ability to find people who feel the exact same way.
Oh, absolutely.
And in large enough numbers where you can become a force.
Absolutely. A culture of hate. Absolutely.
Yeah, that there is no way in hell that you can tell me that The Last Jedi is worse than any of the prequels.
I agree.
The prequels are god-awful. The prequels are bad movies.
Yeah, I agree.
They are objectively bad.
Yeah.
And The Last Jedi tried things. The Last Jedi made some cool choices and choices that were like 180 degrees from what you're expecting.
Agreed.
And so many people leapt on this.
Absolutely.
With just righteous furor.
Yes.
And more than they ever showed the prequels.
I agree. Oh, they ran Kelly Van Tran or forgive me, Rostico off of social media, and that's ridiculous. Yeah. Ridiculous.
It's horrifying. And,
yes. The worst kind of behavior. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and you get the fact that they're not as mad as the prequels tells me it's something more.
I agree with that. Because I want, and please finish your thought, then I'll start.
No, because the problem I have with the prequels is like we were talking earlier. They're stories about the mythos and not about the characters.
I agree with that as well.
It made the mythos more important than, that.
Yeah, getting into the characters. No, I agree.
Yeah, like it's frustrating. I would have loved to have seen a movie with Padme and these other characters. And yeah, there are elements of the prequels that I like. Like I like Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan.
Sure.
Yeah. And
you're supposed to be the chosen one.
Yeah, there's things in there I really like.
Sure. Mace Windu's great.
They're glimpses.
I agree.
Into this.
Qui-Gon. Dude, why of all the prequel movies, good Lord, before he turns 80, can you please, although now he's probably hurt himself with his comments online, but it's like, can we please have a Qui-Gon movie while Liam Neeson can still do it? Because I think Qui-Gon is an awesome character that I was very sad to see die in Phantom Menace, and it's like, oh, can we have more of him, please?
It's frustrating. When you see glimpses of something, and it could have gone that way.
Yeah,
and it's weird for me to talk about this stuff because I know, as this stuff's coming out of my mouth, there's someone listening to this going,
right, fuck you, Slott.
If only bullshit. If only he'd done that.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for 2+ years of Doc Ock as Peter, man. That I didn't ask for. Fuck you, Slott. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man,
no, I know.
I told you the story about the kid I was signing the Superior Spider-Man stuff for with the Nick Spencer bit.
I believe so, but feel free to repeat it because it's been a long time. Go on. There's been a couple hundred episodes, I think, since that happened. Go on.
One of the shows is 5 Points or something show. The show they do down by the pier. Midtown Comics had a booth, and what they wanted to do at the booth was have a different creator show up every hour and sign stuff. And they asked me if I'd do an hour, and I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do an hour.
Okay.
So I go down there and I sign for an hour and then they switch over to Scott Snyder or somebody or
sure.
And I'm like I did my hour. I'm gonna head back home and I'm gonna go back to work. And I'm like heading out, and this kid comes running up behind me. I say kid. I say everyone now is like 20 or younger. So we're talking maybe he's like 16, 17.
All right.
Comes running up behind me with a stack of books. He's like, Mr. Slott, Mr. Slott. I'm like, I missed your time. Can you sign some of my books? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. So I pull him off to the side. I pull out a Sharpie. I'm just like signing through his stack. And the kid starts going into this monologue about like, I want to tell you something, Mr. Slott. Your Spider-Man stories are so important to me, especially Superior. And he's going on and on about like, it was beautiful. And he's going like, I owe you an apology. I was one of these people on the internet who was just like ripping you at the beginning of Superior. But by the time I got to the end, I did not want Doc Ock to go. It had become my favorite run of Spider-Man. It's like, I'm like, well, thank you. And he's like, yeah, and you taught me a valuable lesson. I have to wait till the story's over. I just got to follow the story before I judge it. I got to wait till I get to the end. And while I'm signing, I don't look up and I go, how are you liking Secret Empire? And he goes, fuck Nazi Cap, fuck Nick Spencer.
I know. I really felt for Nick during that story because it's like, come on, man, this isn't forever. Just relax.
But yeah, it was the middle of that whole speech, and he was getting so passionate. I had that in my pocket. I was just waiting, and I knew it, and he nailed it. It was like I just lobbed it over the plate, and I lived for that.
That's outstanding, man. Now, real fast, because you've been great. Unless you've got to go, I got to
get stuff done. But we're in the age of coronavirus. We're all in my world.
I understand, but real fast, then,
locked in the box.
Did you like Rise of Skywalker?
I enjoyed it the least of the new trilogy. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it the least.
I found too much of it incredibly implausible. I'll leave you with the horses on the whatever those the ships.
No, I thought that was cool, man. You riding horses on a ship? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredibly believable, and also that Palpatine not only lived but also has apparently minions that have been living underground, or their spirits that built this armada out of nothing. Okay, all right, whatever. It's classic JJ. You throw a lot of shit on the wall. And if you ask a question, no time, we're moving on to the next scene. It was a collection of scenes rather than a story.
I hit this moment where the things that I didn't like.
Please.
There was nothing for Rose Tico to do.
I agree. Well, that's the other thing, because you're right. Rian Johnson sets up all this shit. And JJ's like, not interested. And the problem with the trilogy in general was, unlike Marvel movies, pretty clear there's no game plan here. And JJ even admitted it as much when he had that big, I think it was in the Sunday Times, where he's like, yeah, I wasn't planning on doing the third movie. They kind of begged me. And it's like, well, they don't even have a blueprint of what they wanted to do with these three movies, other than Rey's broadest strokes. But I mean, it's like, and also, doesn't it become a Palpatine story now? More so than a Skywalker story?
Here's the thing. Palpatine wasn't set up anywhere else.
Right.
So it comes out of the blue.
Right.
So you didn't put Chekhov's gun on the mantle anywhere.
Right.
And now suddenly you're pulling Palpatine out of your butt?
Yep.
So that was weird. But the thing that
bad writing. Sorry, it's not weird. It's bad writing. Go on.
The thing that bugged me the most about it, because I did enjoy it. I didn't
while I was watching it. There was a lot of good stuff going on, but go on.
The way I liked the movies for this last trilogy is I liked Force Awakens the most. And I know people who like Last Jedi more than Force Awakens. For me, the movies went in order.
I agree with you. Yeah, in terms of strongest to weakest, I agree with you.
And the weird thing is, I felt that way about the original trilogy. I like
absolutely, 100%.
I like Star Wars more than Empire.
I kind of do too. I'm with that exception group as well. That I like the first movie as much as I like Empire, and Empire's a great movie.
If the Ewoks had been Wookiees, I probably would have just loved the hell out of Jedi.
And Richard Marquand, I don't know. He didn't seem to be a right fit for that movie. I don't know. That's just my own opinion. It felt smaller. With the exceptions of like the bike, the light cycle scenes and stuff like that, it really did feel smaller to me.
The thing that bugged me the most about Rise of Skywalker was the Kylo. The Kylo Rey romance.
Yes. Well, and it's funny because I've seen either JJ or somebody say, no, it's not a romance or whatever.
It's a romance. No,
yeah, please. Oh, that. God, when they kissed, I know. I literally out loud said, ew.
Yeah. the kiss was like, here's like it was like slash fic or something. It was like all these people online who ship for freaking no, but for things that aren't in the actual story.
Right. No, I understand it. I love that.
No,
I love the. First of all, I love the phrase shipping. It always kills me. So please continue.
No, but you people, anyone can create their
sure. Slash fiction.
Their fan fiction, their slash fiction, their whatever, their art they do on DeviantArt where they take characters who shouldn't be kissing and make them kiss.
Absolutely.
Anyone can you take from whatever you want, extrapolate it, and give me your dream journal online. Sure. That's great. But when you go from movie to movie or from story to story, the foundation has to be in the work. It can't be in your fantasy. You know?
Yeah.
You have to give me the building blocks.
Right.
They all have to be there.
Right.
And when you look at the previous two movies, there isn't a romantic relationship there.
No, the only thing I remember is when Kylo's shirt's off and they're having like the dream conversation and Snoke kind of interrupts that, or was it Luke? I forget. It was Luke. Yeah. And it was just like, hey, what the hell's going on upstairs? It's like Dad coming upstairs and catching the kids.
Can you put your shirt on? That was it. Yeah, that's the only sentence. There's nothing about that merits, Well,
and they totally denutted Kylo as well. I mean, Kylo was a petulant child. Oh, and also using your Chekhov's gun on the mantle. Man, the way they fixated on that Vader helmet, it didn't have to be a real Jedi ghost vision. We needed a Vader ghost confronting Kylo. It could have been a manifestation of the Emperor, of just being like, this is the real me. You need to fulfill your destiny and take my place. Something. And all we got was it's like, all right.
Well, it's the thing I liked about Last Jedi more. There are elements I liked about Last Jedi more than Force Awakens. Like the thing I that bugged me the most about Force Awakens was it's the Death Star again.
Yes,
the planet killing thing. It's just do something creative, do something new, do something different.
Of course.
Don't just give me that again. And what I liked about Last Jedi was the way it subverted your expectations.
Sure.
About everything.
Absolutely. From the moment Luke throws the lightsaber away till the end of the movie.
Yeah, which, when you think about it, that's kind of what Empire did.
Sure.
But Empire did it in a way that was more pleasing and holy shit.
Right.
Your father? Right. What?
Right.
Where that's not the same as, you threw the lightsaber away? What?
Well, and also
it was never really there. What?
Well, by the end of Empire, they're losing, but all hope isn't gone. And the way that they telegraph the end of Jedi is all hope is gone, and without any sort of hope other than, was it at the end of Last Jedi where the kid makes the broom get up with force magic or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It was the end of the Last Jedi. I mean, and so it was like, oh, if there is any sort of hope, it's decades away. Mm-hmm. That was the message I got from Last Jedi. And again, that JJ just came in and said, I don't really care what Ryan did. I'm going to do my thing. And it's just like, okay. But again, then the three movies really don't fit. And, again, obviously nobody could foresee Carrie Fisher passing away. And the other great sin of the three is that we didn't get at least one last time where the original three were together. And I get that it's supposed to be about the new characters, but again, the reason why you're doing a new trilogy is because of this fandom that has followed this story, and it's the same thing with Star Trek. Don't piss off the core. It's that simple. I mean, and again, I think the fandom menace goes too far and has a lot of shitty agenda things that they don't like, but I do kind of get that, no, the three movies really don't flow, and like I said, it bothered me, again, bringing Palpatine back. Now it's a Palpatine story. It's really not, I mean, she's a Skywalker, I guess, so she says she is, I suppose, but again, she's a fucking Palpatine. I'm sorry, it's the trilogy, the last trilogy is a Palpatine story.
Anyway. I think it's fine to break expectations. I think it's fine.
Sure.
To shake up the apple cart.
Don't give us what we want. Give us what we need to be entertained.
I am nodding, but not saying the words. Because
I assume that's kind of what you're saying in terms of, by all means, blow up expectations. We want to be surprised. As much as we say we want the comfort food, we do want to be surprised.
Yes. It's weird. When I was doing, you look at my run as Spider-Man, and there are giant over arcs. There, and then you're telling stories within them.
Right.
Whether it's Peter Parker gets his dream job at Horizon, and here's all this stuff that bubbles out of it.
Absolutely.
Or Spider-Man now becomes Doc Ock becomes Spider-Man, and here's what's happening.
Yep.
And then there's that window where we do Spider-Verse stuff leading up into Spider-Verse, and we do Spider-Verse, and we get out of Spider-Verse.
Yep.
But then the next arc really is you come back after Secret Wars, and the Marvel Universe has changed drastically. And what's the change to Spider-Man? He's now a CEO of a major company.
Yep.
And for me, the fun of that was fish out of water.
Absolutely.
Here's something that Peter Parker should never, ever be. And it's very much like when you see the Flintstones movies, where there's one Flintstone movie where they win the lottery or something, and now they're rich Flintstones. And by the end of it, they're going to be poor Flintstones again. And the fun of it is, what are these slobs going to be like now that they're rich? Because Fred Flintstone shouldn't be rich. That's the whole premise of Worldwide. And suddenly, Spider-Man's operating on this completely different level that he shouldn't be. And then, before it's time to hand the book over to the next writer, who I didn't know was going to be Nick at that time, but you can see there's and now we're out of Worldwide. Now the company is destroyed. Now he's the bigger loser than ever because he's the guy who was Bill Gates for 10 seconds. And now, was that you? God, you're a loser.
Yep.
And now he's back to that. And now he's back to the Bugle, but he's got a different gig. He's now the science editor, which takes every aspect of Peter and the lore in a whole new way.
Absolutely.
He's at the Bugle every day, but it's not taking photos. It's mashed with his love of science. Bing, new thing.
Yep.
And that's a nice status quo where I left where the next guy could pick up.
Sure.
But so many people who are so mad just remember he made him a CEO. Spider-Man shouldn't be a CEO. Fuck that guy.
Sure.
No, that was the premise.
Right.
It's like we should have called the arc "Spider-Man Shouldn't Be a CEO." Enjoy.
Yeah. It's like Frankencastle when Remender did that with the Punisher.
Yeah, you knew that wasn't going to stick.
Or even when he took Captain America and sent him to Dimension Z or whatever the hell it was called.
Yeah.
It's like fish out of water. No, I agree. Every now and then you got to tell a fish out of water story. I agree with that.
And it's weird because that was part of the fun of doing Spider-Man, a character that had been around for 50 years, trying to come up with stories that were interesting that hadn't been told before.
Sure.
And
that's the trick.
Everyone wants the comfort food. Everyone wants the Peter's down on his luck. He's taking photos for the Bugle. Aunt May is sick, and he's dating.
Yeah.
And who's the new villain?
We saw that for 30 years. Absolutely.
And when you do something different and big like Superior, and at the other end of it, the people who read it went, "Oh wow, that was cool." What next?
Yeah,
it's weird. People say like, "Would you go back to Spider-Man?" And my take is, if I ever went back to Spider-Man, I would never want to sit in the big chair again. I wouldn't want to be the guy going, now Spider-Man's the CEO. Now Spider-Man is at the Bugle. Now Spider-Man's over there.
Sure. In charge of the big picture, yeah.
I wouldn't want to be that guy ever again. I would be the guy happily doing Web of Spider-Man or Spectacular Spider-Man, and you're the Spider-Man gets one of his arms chopped off and replaced with a robot arm. Fine, I'm writing that Spider-Man. You made the big call, guy in the big chair.
I hear you, man. No, or even another, maybe Johnny and Peter miniseries again, maybe.
Or yeah, it's weird. It's like there were two stories they would never let me tell.
Which ones? Are you able to say?
Yeah. I've told people the gags. One was involved Spider-Man interacting with someone who walked out of a furry convention. And in the Marvel universe, if you're dressed like an animal, you're clearly a supervillain. A guy walks out of a furry thing and he gets mistaken for a supervillain. And it's all about his day of being that supervillain. It's a good story. It's very funny. He unintentionally becomes a supervillain for a day. Okay. And without meaning to, becomes Spider-Man's greatest foe.
What's the other one?
The other one was, the character Swarm?
No, I don't remember. Help me.
Von Meyer, he is a Nazi. He's an actual Nazi. And he's made up of killer bees.
Hilarious.
Yeah, so he started off in the cartoons, and then he ended up in the comics later, where the visual is just a man made of bees with a purple cloak,
hilarious,
and white gloves for some reason.
All right,
and it kind of like has a face like a snowman, like it's just like holes where the eyes should be and a hole for the mouth.
Sure,
and he talks like he's a swarm of bees.
Excellent.
Yeah, and he's a Nazi made of killer bees. And every Swarm story is just he fires bees at you.
Okay.
That's it.
No, he is a real character. Like you said, he's from the cartoon and everything.
Yeah, he's a real character. He fought the champions.
Hilarious. The new champions?
No, like when John Byrne was drawing it.
Oh, hilarious.
Yeah, it's Swarm. And you usually only saw him over in Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man.
Okay.
But Nazi made of bees. Sometimes they were giant bees. Sometimes they're, bees in the shape of things, but they're all, he just fired bees at you.
Okay.
Every single Swarm story. And I was like, I've got a Swarm story. And they're like, what's your Swarm story? I'm like, we've seen him fire bees at you. We've seen all this stuff with the bees. We've never seen what happens to the honey.
So is it like hate honey?
Yes. When you eat the honey, you turn into a Nazi.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
I'm serious. I love that. That's wonderful. I'd read that. I'd buy that. I'd pay that. I'd buy that for $1.
And they're like, and I was like, and you know what you call it? And they're like, what? And they're like, Nazi gold. And they're like, we're never doing that story.
Yeah, we're done talking. Exactly. We're done talking. You're Gary Marshall in Lost in America.
Yeah, I can't do the story of, if this be the weasel. And I can't do Nazi gold. I can't do those two stories.
Oh, that's the name of that's the furry, If This Be the Weasel.
Yeah.
That's a very Stan Lee title. If This Be the Weasel.
Yeah.
Write that up, Johnny Romita. I'll plot that out for me. I'll be back.
It's really good because basically it's this guy, it's his first furry convention, and it's taking that leap of, okay, I've had this fetish I've wanted to do for this long time, but I don't want anyone to know, but I'll be in a suit. And then he wanders into the wrong room where Spider-Man's fighting these like Yakuza or the Magi or something. And the Magi turn and go, are you the villain we hired? And he's kind of like, yes, I am. And by the end of the story, you get these moments where it's like Spider-Man's on the gold finger table.
Sure, the laser, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's kind of like he's got his hand on the lever. And he's like, you're going to talk, Spider-Man. Never do you, weasel. He's like, and the guy in the costume was like, please, I don't want to kill you. Like, oh, I don't want to kill Spider-Man.
That's awesome.
He's like, talk. Yeah. And at the end of the story, when the police are carting them away, he sees his family and they've removed the helmet. And he's like, he'd rather his family think he was a supervillain than a furry. So he goes to jail. And they're like, you will never tell the story of Spider-Man and the furry. And I'm like, all right. So those are the two.
So there's creator own, man.
God, no. And there over the years there were scenes I wanted to do with Spider-Man they wouldn't let me do, but there was two specific stories those I couldn't do. But there was a Spider-Man miniseries I wanted to do. And remember, I'm the guy who wrote Arkham Asylum: Living Hell.
Yes.
It was a very dark story. It was a story focusing on one of Spider-Man's villains in a very dark and messed up way, where Spider-Man isn't really the lead of the story. It's really the villain's story.
Okay.
And it's how it's a Spider-Man villain who we all know and love. I don't want to say who it is because I'd love to someday do it. But we've never truly seen their origin story.
Okay.
And it's their origin story, and it's really messed up. And it has ramifications in the present day that are really messed up. So there's a lot of violence in it. There's a lot of horror in it. And it's very graphic and horrifying and terrible. And when I tell people the story, they go, oh, my God, that is so good. And then you realize it's in the Spider-Man universe. And Spider-Man's one of the characters where they really don't have, like, Spider-Man Max.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, Tangled Web was as close as we got, and it really wasn't Spider-Man that made them the like Severance Package is my favorite Tangled Web story that Rucka did, and it's obviously more of a Kingpin story than it is a Spider-Man story.
It's weird because there's stuff that they've done in like Spider-Verse spin-offs that have been truly horrifying, like the Spider's Man and that one story of the guy who's like eating people, and there's stuff they've done with Carnage. But I found that with Nick Lowe as editor, Nick really wants Spider-Man to be a book that kids can read.
Okay.
And when I was working with Steve Wacker, Steve was letting me do stuff like I decapitated the Hobgoblin. I couldn't do that. I don't think I could do that with Nick. And that's not a bad thing.
Sure.
You know, every editor's got their own.
Sure.
You know,
edicts. Yeah, absolutely.
The way they play, and I loved working with Nick. Like half my run, I worked with Nick, but I knew that was his ethos, and that if I tried to do this mini in that zone, it would take a lot of the oomph out of it.
I'm with you.
So it's weird. Like I have this like 4 or 5 issue mini in my pocket that I've never done. So there's still like an itch to be scratched. I could still I could see myself going back to do that many and going back to do some other Spidey stories. But yet again, it's something that would be off to the side, and I wouldn't want to step on the toes of whoever was sitting in the big chair.
Sure.
But the weird thing is, I've been that guy. I've been on the other side of that equation. So, like, I've had, like, Jerry Conway write Mr. Negative stories, you know, while I was in the big chair.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, this is so weird. It's so cool. It's like one of my idols is writing one of my characters.
Absolutely. You
know, and when we were working on Brand New Day, Roger Stern came back and did stuff. And, you know, it's always kind of cool. And someday I'd like to be that guy. I'd like to be like, oh, hey. It's the old alumnus.
Sure. Yeah. Dan's back doing Spider-Man, and he's doing something new with one of our characters. That's cool.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Or I'm not hurting anybody.
I understand. I get it.
Just like, you know, Peter Parker, my pal. I've been in your head for 10 years. It's very weird.
It's cool, man. No.
No, it's like a fifth of my life, man.
I'm hip. I know. Dude, I'm telling you, it's a great run, and I've loved hearing people debate great Spider-Man runs, and you're always in the team picture. Always in the team picture.
Or it's fun. I mean, I think it's the way I met Jerry Conway was that he reached out to me in the middle of like all the Spidey 700 death threats.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
He reached out to me to go, to say it's going to be cool. It's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Like, I'm the guy who killed Gwen.
Right.
Yeah. But one of the first things he said to me is like, you know what makes you different from any other Spider-Man writer? And I'm like, no. And he's like, you're the Spider-Man writer during the age of social media.
Of course.
And I'm like, wow, I never thought about it. So yeah, so the same way there's people that like, they hate The Last Jedi, or they hate this, or they hate that. Like, I totally get it. For the rest of my life, there'll be this faction online that just hates everything I did.
Sure.
And it's weird because I've seen people that don't realize how long I was on the book, and they've shown me like stuff online going, you don't understand Spider-Man. Spider-Man needs to be the way he was in these scenes. And they'll put up 4 scenes, and I've written one of them. Because they forget that, you were that guy. How else could I not be? I was on the book for 10 years.
Exactly, man. No, and your writing evolves with the character, and you decide to go into different directions. I get it.
Or they don't realize.
Right.
And
they forget. Yeah.
Way. And no, it's weird. It's a weird world to live in where I'm gonna get. But for all of that, I can go to any comic convention, and someone will come up to me with a giant stack, and it'll be a long line of people with giant stacks of comics, and they will tell me like all their favorite things for the years. So it's like, for any convention I go to, I walk out going like, wow, the real world isn't like the internet at all.
Totally, man.
I can go to any city in the world, and there's guys who will line up with giant stacks of comics, and they can cite them verbatim. So it's all good.
I hear you, man. Well, here's hoping that sooner than later we'll be able to return to the convention scene and have those experiences again. I've been referring to C2E2 as the last con standing because it really was.
I just had like two of my shows go out, and and now I'm like waiting. Like, is San Diego going to happen?
I know.
'Cause I'm a guest this year, and will that go away?
I hear you, man. I was planning on going to San Diego this year too, and obviously, I think it's 30-70. I think it's or even 25-75 that that's more unlikely that it'll happen than likely that it'll happen. I hate to say it.
Well, we watch the news. We know that like they've just started testing, and it's going to take like a year and a half till there's a vaccine they can get.
Right. Right.
So how are you going to have a con like that?
Yeah.
Or hoping that, I don't know, that it's going to be weird going, like, even if we start doing cons again, goodbye handshaking, goodbye, I'm sorry, I cannot hug you.
Well, but you can, again, with, I think, reasonable distance can still possibly take a picture. I think with reasonable distance, you can bow and acknowledge somebody, and that's okay. And we can't touch people, but that's...
Oh, no, but it's, it is the curse of my frame. I resemble a teddy bear.
Oh, please, son, who are you talking to? I'm in the plus section, No,
but it's like strangers will hug me. And
I understand. Well, you are cute, Dan. You've got that Pillsbury Doughboy quality too.
I do. I'm not fond of it. There is.
It's endearing, Dan. Dan. It could be worse. We could be trolls. We're not trolls. Okay.
I got days. No, but it's there was like some panel I was on where when people were feeling upset, Quesada was inviting them up onto the stage going, hey, get a hug from Dan Slott. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah, that's
like, if I was a female employee, you would never do that in a million years.
I think.
But it's the teddy bear man over there. He kind of looks roly poly and he looks lovable. She's Louise.
You got that face, Dan. It's not. That's all right. We can hit the gym and we'll be. Well, we not right now. We can't hit the gym.
No. This is it, man, for life.
All right.
It's all fine. I'm only getting fatter and older and balder.
God bless you, son.
All good.
All right. Jesus.
On that happy note.
Exactly, you poor guy. Good Lord, man. Now I want to hug you. What the fuck?
Now it's good. Now I got coronavirus. I'm sorry I can't. I'm sorry. It's all good.
Well, dude, seriously, I hope you'll consider doing a trivia contest because, like I said, just even throwing that champions question, that's the kind of stuff I want to do. And I'm not going to put you against Mark Wade, who could kill us all.
Oh, no, Mark Wade and Brevoort and Kurt
That's
Busick.
true, yeah. Boy, I should try and get them together. That would be cool.
Wade Busick and Brevoort are they're unstoppable.
Well, yeah, they're the Grandmasters, absolutely. Well, that's where I would get heavy. All right, real fast, Jimmy Olsen's helicopter.
But no. But it's not even that. It's that they also know the trivia on both on the
right. DC and Marvel.
No, not just DC and Marvel. On the paper and behind the scenes.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, creators and everything. Yeah, you're right.
And the legacies and the histories of all the companies.
Fair enough. That's true. Do you know the answer to my Jimmy Olsen helicopter question?
The Jimmy Olsen helicopter? Did he turn into a helicopter?
No. It was his base of operations when he would be out in the field.
He was Mr. Action?
It was before Mr. Action, although they probably showed up during the Mr. Action time as well. But it was your Kurt Swan, Jimmy Olsen drawing days.
No, you lost me.
The Flying Newsroom.
No, I failed you.
No, that's all right. This is my DC side coming out against my lesser Marvel side in terms of how deep my knowledge is and stuff. And I mean, I'm okay, and that's why Champions is a great question.
The minute you hit me into '90s X-Men,
I'm blind spot.
Screwed.
I am too, man. '90s, both DC and Marvel. With the exceptions of what Alex Ross was doing with both Kingdom Come and Marvels. 99's when I came back to comics, or 98 when Kevin was doing Daredevil and Jimmy and Joe were running Marvel Knights.
Marvel Knight stuff. The Marvel Knight stuff's so good.
Oh my God! And that's when it was great. I did a panel with Jimmy and Amanda at C2E2, and I took selfish moments with both of them. And one of my selfish moments with Jimmy was, I'm like, you got to tell me about Marvel Knights, man, because everyone remembers Joe, but it's like you could have been an editor-in-chief as well.
But Joe and Jimmy and the stuff that came out of Marvel Knights, like everyone has been chasing the dragon of trying to get the Inhumans as good as they were under Jenkins.
100%, absolutely, yes.
That was man.
The greatest Inhuman story ever. Absolutely.
Oh God! The minute the guy goes through the Terrigen Mist and he comes out in Alpha Primitive.
Yep.
You're like, it's a better Inhumans beat than like Lee and Kirby ever did.
I'm hip. I agree.
It is so primal.
Yes.
The great hypocrisy of those characters. You're not beating that beat. It's like the best beat of all time.
Plus Jay Lee at his best.
Oh, Jay Lee's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh God, yes, everything.
Yeah.
Well,
we're gonna wrap, and I'm gonna go to work.
Go back. As I always say, stop talking about the donuts. Make the donuts, please.
Gonna make the donuts, man.
All right, dude. Excellent chat as always. Be well, and we'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Stay safe.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Great talk with Dan Slott. Great messages at the beginning of the conversation. Let me remind you that you should really get in touch with your local comic shop and see what their plans are to offer curbside service. If you've got a long, big pull box, and do what you can. And also my suggestion that came from Tim Seeley, that if you can swing it, buy a couple gift certificates from your favorite shop. And, they'll appreciate that because they probably need the money right now to stay afloat. And, when things get easier, you can go and obviously redeem them and buy some great books. So I hope you'll consider those if you're able to swing them in the days and weeks ahead. But thanks a lot for listening to Word Balloon. As always, brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. I thank you, League, for your great support via Patreon. And I mean it. It means a lot. There's about 300 of you, and it's greatly appreciated, the support that you give me via Patreon. Word Balloon is free. It'll always be free because I want to entertain people, and I want people to become aware of the show and keep growing the show, because I believe in what I do here, and I know there's a lot of you that are newcomers to Word Balloon. Really, in the last 2 years, it's been great seeing a lot of you come to the show and appreciate it. I'm getting new people listening via YouTube as well, as I post episodes there, and I get really nice messages of, oh man, more people should be listening to you. I wish you had a bigger audience. I do have a big audience. I have a league of superheroes behind me that are supporting me and very greatly appreciate it, and also letting other people know that enjoy nerd conversation and comic books that Word Balloon is worth listening to. So patreon.com if you want to subscribe. If you can swing $1 a month, if you can swing the price of a comic book a month, I try to give you that kind of entertainment and the volume of entertainment, hours of conversation each week and month here at Word Balloon. I thank you greatly for your support, League of Word Balloon listeners. Patreon.com/wordballoon, or you can click on the Patreon ad on the front page of wordballoon.com. This episode also brought to you by Aftershock Comics. This is a great time to sample some of the new titles and new ideas that are coming out of Aftershock Comics. I can't say it enough. Not only the monthly titles, but think of great graphic novel collections that have just been collected in the last year. Things like Killer Groove from Ollie Masters and The Last Space Race. I'm looking forward to the collection of Matthew Klickstein's You Are Obsolete. There are great new monthly titles, too, that are debuting. Stephanie Phillips doing Artemis and the Assassins coming in March. John Layman just got underway with The Man Who Effed Up Time. There's Zach Thompson's Undone by Blood. God Killers from Mark Sable. The library has great stuff. Things like Dark Red from Tim Seeley and Dark Arc from Cullen Bunn and Juan Doe. Wonderful books from Phil Hester and Paul Jenkins. Go to their website. You'll find full story descriptions, preview pages of the art, and the way to get these books digitally or the diamond codes to order them through your local shop at AftershockComics.com. Thanks again for listening to Word Balloon. Man, I got a full dance card. As we're shut in, I am entertaining myself, having these great conversations and then sharing them with you. I already have 2 more conversations lined up for this week as I'm recording this. I'm talking to you early Thursday morning. But yeah, there's going to be 2 more conversations at least before the weekend comes, and I'll be working in radio. But, and then next week is going to be a great time too, and I've already got plans for more conversation. So I hope you'll join me. It's been a full month. If you haven't listened to some of the great talks I've had from C2E2, panels with Svengoolie and Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, and God, this week, what a full week, man. Already talked to Tom King, talked to Dan, obviously. A Joe Casey episode is coming up very shortly, early next week. I've got a couple other things, like I said, planned, at least 2 to 3 conversations before I wrap up this week. And then, I'm hitting the ground running. I'm also trying to figure out how to live stream not only myself, but also my guests. You'll forgive me, I'm kind of a technical numbskull. I'm so close. Every day I make another move where I'm like, all right, I'm on the track. I'm on the right track. So once I get all that figured out, we'll do some live Word Balloons as well and let you know about them so that you can chime in with questions for the creators. And I keep teasing it, but really expect a few trivia quizzes to keep us entertained as well. I thought it would be a fun way to get some of the creators together, and as opposed to, I always feel weird when it's like, a joint interview, because I feel like I'm not giving each person their fair share of talking time. But I thought if we played a game, especially with some of my old creator friends, it might be a lot of fun. So expect a couple of those coming as well in the days and weeks ahead, right here on Word Balloon. Thanks a lot for listening. Talk to you soon. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions. Copyright 2020.